Happy race day! Hey everyone! How's it going? Who is ready for what is no doubt going to be an amazing race today? I'm really pumped for today. I'm late? No, I'm not. You're just on a delay. How's it going, everyone? Happy Sunday. Hope you're doing well. Oh, it's a nice sunny day here in the UK. I've been out. Spent loads of money on food shopping, and I'm now ready to do this watch along with you guys. Really excited for today. Hey Sahel, Rue, Cram, good to see you, clan. Bear, good to see you guys. Hey James, all good man, all good. It's even sunny in Scotland. Hey, that's a rarity. But yes, thought I'd go live a little bit earlier today because I'm so excited for the race, and I genuinely mean that. I do wish we was at a circuit that could probably provide more overtaking than EMILIA, but definitely going to be an interesting race today. Max doesn't really seem to be on it. Of course, he did get pole, of course, but when it comes to race pace, it's a bit of a different kettle of fish. No rest for the wicked, Mark. No rest for the wicked. You could do with a little less sun, John. We're in the UK though. You're gonna tell me you're in like the Caribbean or something, where you get sun all the time, or it rains. It's either sunny or it's raining. Hey, everyone's good to see you. It's sunny in Malawi. Good. Nice to see everyone's getting a lot of sun. So, getting that vitamin D. Florida. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, you either get sun or like hurricanes. There's no in between in Florida. Hey, Marley, good to see you, mate. I know, Mark, I know. Well, that's the beauty of F1, and that's what obviously I try and do for you guys, is bring F1 and bring that enjoyment of this sport to you all. So yeah, I'm absolutely loving these watch-alongs, and yeah, I'm glad you are too. You found me yesterday, John? Oh, brilliant, man, brilliant. Yeah, if you're new to this channel, guys, and you're just discovering this for the first time, so primarily, I'm an F1 fan. Love it. Love doing these watch-alongs with you. Of course, I also do my sim racing as well, which I'm very passionate about, and yeah, love doing that as well. Raced against a number of real-life racing drivers. I've actually crashed into Oscar Piastri. Actually, he crashed into me. He crashed into me in an F3 race on iRacing. I recently came up against and went wheel-to-wheel with Kimi Antonelli, so that was good fun. He couldn't get past me. And yeah, a number of the other F2 drivers on the grid. So the future F1 grid, I'll be able to sit here and say I race against those guys online. Of course, Max was doing his own sim race yesterday in the Nürburgring 24 hours, which I didn't put a team together for because just this, and I wanted to prioritize this rather than the Nürburgring 24 hours. But yeah, and then I'm also branching out, trying to do some actual F1 content as well, F1 videos, opinionated stuff, giving my thoughts and opinions on things. If you got any ideas for me, throw them my way. I'm all ears. But yeah, that's kind of what I did with the post-reaction qualifying thing yesterday as well. So no sneezing today. I'm trying, Kieran. I've taken an antihistamine today. I think it might have been a bit of hay fever yesterday that was aggravating me. So yeah, I'm all good. It's warmer in Scotland, Roo. Watching from Newcastle. Nice. Watching from the Philippines. It's always great to see where, like when I see on YouTube, for those of you who aren't familiar, you go onto your analytics and your videos and your live streams, there's an audience tab, and it shows you where the different regions in the world that you're viewership comes from. And it's crazy to see all the different regions. I mean, it truly is worldwide. Truly is worldwide. So, yeah, it just shows the reach that F1 has and that this channel's been getting. So, yeah, big thank you, guys. Oh, thank you, Christian. Welcome, buddy. Yeah, let's see if we can get to 25k today. I'm an ambitious guy. But the last stream was massive. We hit 9,000 viewers, peak concurrent. And then, yeah, hopefully maybe 10k today. Who knows? But, yes, so Mark, I did see that. If anyone hasn't seen it, this week, of course, it's the 30th anniversary of Senna's tragic death, and of course Roland Ratzenberger as well on the Saturday, the day before. And yeah, Sebastian Vettel owns the McLaren, a '93 McLaren that Senna had and drove, and he took it round Imola today, or was it yesterday? Oh my god! And he did not hold back. He didn't hold back, did he? It actually, like, he proper went for it, and it just sounded so good and looked so good. One of the best looking F1 cars ever. How have I been mostly watching in Nürburgring 24? I've been keeping an eye on a few people, James. Yeah, I don't really... I just kind of check in. I don't like sit there and religiously watch the endurance races. It's a bit tough, isn't it, to sit there and watch it all for 24 hours. Hey, Ram. Yeah, I'm doing good, buddy. Perth, Australia. God, proper other side of the world. What time is it in Australia, then, for you guys? Must be nearly midnight, isn't it? Coming up to midnight? 10 p.m.? Staring at my phone saying, yeah, I know, sir. Right. So, we'll give it a little while longer, and then we'll head into the strategies for today. Not a lot to be desired with the strategies today, guys, at EMILIA. If you're unfamiliar with it, it has one of, if not the longest pit lane straights and pit stops in F1. So it's 28 seconds, which is a very long time, and that, with only one DRS zone, doesn't really entice any more stops than that, unless there's a safety car, because you just lose too much time, and you won't be able to make it up on a new set of tyres. So yeah, we'll have a look at those in a second, and the tyre allocations, as we normally do. But yeah, welcome everyone. So I ran a poll, and it's still ongoing in regards to who is going to win this race today. We currently have over 100 votes, and interestingly, 40% of you say Verstappen. It has flip-flopped since I've started the stream. Norris 25%, Leclerc 26%, and Piastri 9%. So, where am I from? I'm just from outside London, Christian. And for those of you in the UK, have a guess at what county I'm from. If you know already, don't say it. But if those of you in the UK, you can probably tell where my accent is from. Those of you who don't know the UK, yeah, just outside London. Hey Dino, yeah, welcome. Wonk donk, good to see ya. Yeah, I do agree. Tsunoda's going to have a very good race today. And Ricciardo, the AlphaTauris, or the V-Carb cars, I call them AlphaTauri because it's easier. They've got a good opportunity of scoring some points today. Daniel Ricciardo getting into 9th position. So, yeah, there's a track where it's quite difficult to overtake on, or notoriously difficult to overtake on. Yeah, there's no reason why Tsunoda shouldn't be finishing where he's starting. Maybe if he loses a position to the Mercedes, but he should be finishing ahead of Ricciardo and Hülkenberg. Ireland. From Fiji. Nice. If Lando wins today, we go skydiving. Yes, so my predictions, if you haven't tuned in to my video that I did on my post-race reaction, I gave a couple of predictions there. And I do think today we're going to see a Lando Norris win. I wouldn't maybe have said Lando if Piastri didn't unfortunately get his 3-place grid penalties. If you're unaware of that, in the Q1 session yesterday, Piastri did impede Kevin Magnussen into the first chicane. Now, unfortunately, it was pretty much a slam dunk. I don't know, just a lack of communication, obviously, with his pit wall. Piastri said he was kind of unaware of another car coming up behind him. And because of that, Magnussen also couldn't make it out of Q1. That's what he will say anyway, but he couldn't get that last final lap in, and he ultimately went out. So, yeah, Piastri is going to be starting down in 5th position. I think it is behind Carlos, behind the 2 Ferraris and his teammate, rather than on the front row. But he does have those new upgrades and has looked very strong here. So we'll see if he's going to be able to overtake those Ferraris. The McLarens are very good with top speed. So this is why I'm saying I don't think Verstappen is going to win this race, because Verstappen, as we know and as it's been well documented, he got pole position yesterday with the help of Nico Hülkenberg. Without that, he probably would have been 3rd. He was still quicker than the Ferraris. But we were watching the sector times yesterday, and Max was evidently and consistently slower in the last sector than the McLarens and the Ferraris. That's an important sector, because if you're slow in that last sector, it's going to enable the McLarens and the Ferraris to get up close behind you. And with only one DRS zone down the main straight / bend into the first chicane, you're just going to be a sitting duck. And it sounds weird to say, but the Red Bull doesn't have great top speed here compared to the McLarens, especially without DRS. So Max, I think, is going to have to get his elbows out today, but he might not even have an opportunity to do so, because I think the McLaren, we could see the McLaren get past Max quite comfortably and drive off into the distance. I hope not. I hope it is a little bit more entertaining than that, but I think it's going to be like London buses for Lando. He waits for ages for one of them, and he gets 2 come along in quick succession. So that's what I think it's going to be today. That's my kind of predictions. Afternoon fun, good to see you. First one to crash today, Stroll, the TV. That's not really a bold prediction, though, is it? Let's be honest. This is my 2nd race you've ever watched in your whole life. Wow, you must be a good luck charm for Dino. You must be a good luck charm. Lag or just you? Stream looks good on my end. No one else is reporting the same, Marlin, unfortunately. Try and restart the app, buddy. Close it down properly. Reload the browser. But how long should we expect the race to start, Ronald? Yes. So it is starting in half an hour's time, basically, 30 minutes time. So I'll tell you what we'll do. We've got enough people in here. Let's have a look at those race strategies for today. And yeah, in the meantime, guys, please hit the subscribe button and hit the like button as well. Can we get to 100 likes before the race starts? That'd be great. Right. Let me look at changing the scene. Right, here we go. Let's move this over here, maybe. So, right, these are the strategies for today's, guys, as we have already discussed. Oh, Jesus, not that. Didn't want to do that. Hang on. There we go. That'll do. So, the strategies for today, not very inspiring. Not a lot of varying options here. It's basically a one-stopper, a medium compound tyre to the hard, or the hard compound to the medium. I do expect to see those up front start on the medium compound. It looked a quick tyre. We are on the softest compound tyre that we have experienced here, or that, sorry, Pirelli have to their disposal. So that's why the red tyres, lots of drivers were using them in FP3. It doesn't really last very long either. So yeah, it's pretty much a medium tyre to a hard tyre. I think that's what the majority of the grid will use. Maybe someone will try and go extra long on the hard tyre further down the grid. Maybe Perez, who's out of position, because obviously it is a circuit that is difficult to overtake at. Going long if you're out of position might help. The likes of Fernando Alonso as well, who's down there in 19th place. But yeah, unless we get a safety car, it won't be more than it'll be a one-stop for definite, unless we get multiple safety cars, shall we say. But yeah, if there is a VSC today, guys, see drivers making use of that, because it is a 28-second pit stop here. So if you get the VSC, they say on average it's about 10 seconds. I think 7 to 10 seconds that you save. So that'll be massive advantage to those who can utilise safety car pit stop or a VSC pit stop. We have seen incidents at Imola, of course. The big one was George Russell, wasn't it? Back when he was at Williams with Bottas, but brought out the red flag. So, yeah, we could see incidents today, guys. So that isn't necessarily a given. So let's have a look at tyre allocations. And we can see here what everyone has left available to them. And you can see there that the important ones are that Verstappen, Perez have 2 brand new sets of hards and 1 brand new set of mediums. Russell, Hamilton have 1 set of hards, 1 brand new set of hards, and Hamilton has 2 new sets of mediums, which is interesting. Whereas Russell has used. Now, don't be alarmed, guys. Norris and Piastri down there, while it says that they're used hard tyres, they aren't actually used. They've just scrubbed off the shine. So they've gone out and done a lap to take off that initial shine. And I think the premise behind that is that it helps warm up the tyres quicker when it comes to putting them on in a race scenario. Aston Martin always like to do the same as well, hence why they've got their used mediums and hards. It's just to help with tyre warm up, I think, to remove that new shine that is on the tyre. So yeah, pretty much even in regards to tyre allocations here. No one kind of has an advantage. They're all pretty much got a brand new set of hards. I mean, 2 brand new sets of hards I don't think is really going to be that beneficial unless there's like a safety car and they decide to put a brand new set on. But yeah, that's basically the strategies, guys. Not really too much to discuss here. It's pretty straightforward. Which one is softer? C5. So the C0 is the hardest compound of tyre that you can get with Pirelli. And then it works its way back to the C5. So, yeah. Pity we couldn't see the grip walk. Yeah, I mean, normally the live timing hasn't gone live yet either. Normally they put the timings up for drivers going round and lining up to the grid. That used to be the case, but not anymore. So... even think the medium soft could work with the cold temps. I just don't think so. I don't think the soft tyre is lasting long enough anyway, Warren. I just don't think it's a viable race tyre. Unless like there's a very late safety car. And that's the only time I think the soft tyre will come on. I could be wrong. But I think it's pretty much a standard medium tyre to a hard. So Vettel in Senna's car was cool. Yeah, it was really good. There's... we need to go back to engines like that, don't we? We need to go back to engines that can sound like that and really get the ears buzzing. So that's my prediction, Salvatore, as well, is Norris back-to-back. I do think it. At the moment, 42% of you think Verstappen. But what's interesting is that, well, it's 26% say Norris, 24% say Leclerc. It's not overwhelmingly in favour of Verstappen. I do think Verstappen's going to get his elbows out today, or he's going to have to get his elbows out. The Ferraris do look better over... Their race pace was good throughout the practice sessions. They'll be disappointed, of course, with what happened in the race, in qualifying, but their race pace is good. So I don't expect the Ferraris... No one's talking about the Ferraris. It's all been about Verstappen and the McLarens, but the Ferraris are definitely in this race today. And it wouldn't surprise me if we see the top 5, which is Verstappen, Leclerc, Sainz and Piastri, and Norris, sorry. It wouldn't surprise me if they're kind of back-to-back for quite a while and we see that top 5 pull away. So, yeah, really going to be an intriguing race today. And, yeah, the strategy teams are going to be earning their money as well, because if you get into some clean air, it could be very important today. Very important in gaining track position. But also, another reason which we mentioned in the qualifying reaction and the watch-along yesterday is that the reason why I think Verstappen is also not going to win this race today, guys, is not all just because of him not being, I think, him being vulnerable to the McLaren's top speed. But I think he's on his own out front. He's up front on his own. Perez is down in 11th position. He's not going to be there to support Verstappen, who's going to be under attack from 2 McLarens and 2 Ferraris, who can use an extra driver to throw him off, to force a decision from Verstappen, from the Red Bull. So, yeah, that's what I think. So, right, looks like the live timers have gone live. So, let me just change scenes so that I can set this up for you guys. Where am I going? This one. Right. But, yeah. I'm doing a good job. Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Yeah, if you like the stream, guys, please hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get to... It'd be great if we could get to 23,000, but let's aim for 25, eh? It does say that 90% of you don't tune... who tune into these streams aren't subscribed. So, if you don't ask, you don't get. Right, so continue to live timings. Gosh, right, here we go. Let's go here. Let's go down. Just setting up the stream, guys. Setting up the live timings. And then let's go to... I don't think I'm going to need many tyre choices today. Let's go to... sectors leaderboard, that's for me, and then race control messages as well. That's awesome. Right, and a list of investigations. Where's that gone? Where's that just disappeared? Okay, anyway. Right, let's get cracking. How's that look? Let's move that down there. Move that there. And then this just needs to be smaller slightly. There we go. Bosh. Ready to go. Ready to rock and roll. Happy days. Ready to rock and roll, guys. 7 PM here right now, staying up, hoping that Norris wins. I think you are making the right decision to stay up, Ham. I think you definitely are. But we're in for a cracking race today. And interestingly, bit of news, guys. Fernando Alonso is starting from the pit lane. So that kind of makes sense that he can make setup changes to his car. He was starting 19th anyway. So yeah, he can start from the pit lane. And yeah, make those setup changes. Hello from the Philippines. Welcome, welcome. What's my opinion on sprints? Ain't been a fan of I. I'm not a massive fan of sprints. It's good for the watch-alongs, I guess, because it's more F1 content. But as a fan, meh. Like, I don't know. I'm still just not overly enamoured by them. Are they expecting rain today? Don't think so. Don't think so. Been a long time since Verstappen was under pressure. Hopefully it stays within 3 seconds today. Oh, I think he's going to be very close. I don't think he's going to get away from the pack at all. Hey, Rob. Good to see ya. Rod as well. Rob and Rod, welcome. 35 degrees Sunday evening. Ooh, that's hot. That's hot. But yeah, if you're just tuning in, guys, welcome, welcome. We have, if you're wondering when the race starts, it starts on the hour. So just over 20 minutes until the race gets underway. We're in for a cracker here. And if you're just tuning in and you are busy watching the Fury Usyk fight last night and not paying attention to any of the post-F1 news, unfortunately, Piastri there, yes, he is starting in 5th place. He got a post-qualifying penalty for impeding Magnussen in Q1 into the turn 2 and 3 chicane. So yeah, unfortunately he is starting in 5th place behind the Ferraris, forming a kind of a McLaren sandwich with a Ferrari fill in there. But yes, let's see what this race has in store for us. It's going to be interesting. I am excited. I haven't been this excited for a race in a long time. I've said that a few times now. Verstappen for a back Red Bull win. Potentially. Prediction: Tsunoda P1, Ricciardo P2, Hulk P3. Oh, well, if you're counting from 8th position down, yeah, that's where P1 is. That 7-second leader Lando had is still in your mind, Dawn. Looks like a jam sandwich. Apologies. Yeah, I just think so. We had a look after qualifying yesterday at the top speeds. Even with the tow from Hulkenberg, Verstappen couldn't get the top speed throughout the whole session. That was owned by Piastri, who Piastri and then Norris, I think it was. So we've still 1 mile an hour down, 1 miles per hour down on the McLarens, with the assistance of DRS and the tow, of course, with Hulkenberg. So that's substantial when it comes to the race, and you are out front. You're punching a hole ahead of everyone, and yeah, I think it's just going to leave him vulnerable down into turn 2. Technically, turn 1 is like the kink, but how many safety cars am I expecting? I kind of hope we don't get any, because I do think it's going to be an interesting race out up front, and I hope we don't get any. But I wouldn't surprise me if we do get one, because this track is quite narrow. Some drivers are going to have to force the issue in regards to overtaking. That could lead to some debris, some front wings falling off, some front wing end plates. It wouldn't surprise me if we at least get a VSC at some point to clear maybe some debris. But we have seen safety cars and red flags even in at Imola. So looking forward to Piastri win. If he was starting second, I would have said so. But I think Piastri needs a lot of help from a safety car of some sort for him to be like gain track position. I just don't see him. I don't think the team would allow him to overtake Norris either. That's the thing. I don't think they will, unless he's got like a massive pace advantage, which he has been the quicker driver here this weekend, but you're talking like hundredths of a second. I don't think that's going to happen. He will only win this race if he benefits from a safety car. If he was starting on P2, I would say he had a very good opportunity if he got down into the first corner or turn 2 behind Max. But yeah, unfortunately, I think a podium is probably the best for him today. So we'll see. It's raining. No, it's not raining. It's not raining. It's sunny, blue skies. That's what it is. I've got Sky TV coverage here. So yeah, it's not raining today in Imola, so it is going to be a dry race, which I want it to be a dry race. If we get rain at this circuit, it's probably one of the worst circuits to get rain, because if a dry line starts forming, there's not many places, there's no way to overtake. There's just one line to go through the corners, so it means no one can move off of that dry line. So if, of course, it wasn't just purely raining, but even so, it's not a great circuit to overtake when it's raining, let alone when it's in the dry. So what's my prediction, Charlie? So right, my predictions, guys. I'm gonna give my prediction and you can give me your prediction and give me your top 3 in the chat. So at the moment, there's 45% of you saying that Verstappen's going to win this race, 24% saying Norris, 24% saying Leclerc, 8% Piastri. I think it's going to be a McLaren 1-2. McLaren 1-2. I think Lando's going to win his second race in a row. He's waited long for the first one. And like London buses, 2 come in quick succession. And I think he's going to win this race. He's going to overtake Verstappen out on track. And I think Piastri is going to get ahead of the Ferraris. And I think it's going to be Norris P1, Piastri P2, and Leclerc P3. That's my top 3. Tamburello, yeah, Tamburello. Leclerc, Verstappen, Piastri, Norris, DNF, Charlie. Oh. Kaka, 19 months for the member. Thank you very much, buddy. Welcome. Where do I put Verstappen? I think Verstappen will be P4. I do just think, 10% chance of rain. That's what's just come up there, 10% chance. But I don't think that's very low. That's very low. I just think Verstappen's going to get eaten up down the straight. So someone just said there. So Max reporting that their long pace, Red Bull's long pace, it might be a bit of a struggle. Yeah, Max actually saying that the long runs are a bit of an unknown, so it's going to be a bit difficult. We're in for a race here today, guys. We're in for a race. Indonesia, welcome, welcome. Do I think Stroll will get replaced at Aston? No. No, not while his dad's still there. Don't be silly, Paul. Don't be silly. P4, I'm saying it, Ahmad. I'm just looking at the... We've watched the practice sessions here on stream. We've watched qualifying. We've looked at the data. Data doesn't lie. The data doesn't lie. So, as I said, without Hulkenberg yesterday, we'd be having a very different conversation about who was on pole position or who was on the front row. It would have been a McLaren 1-2. So, yeah, I think the McLarens, this is theirs to lose, I think. They just need to buy their time. So, hey, Rory, good to see you, mate. Hope you're having a good weekend. Thank you, buddy. Thanks for tuning in. Hi from Germany. Welcome, Oleg. Yeah, welcome, everyone. Numbers starting to creep up as we are heading into just over 10 minutes until this race begins. National anthem's now being played on the start line. So, yeah, not long until we find out who's starting on what tyre as well. I do predict that everyone's going to be on the medium tyre. There might be a few of those out of position like Perez, maybe Alonso are going to go long on the hard compound. Maybe goal hang for a safety car. We may see more hard tyres actually with those goal hanging for a safety car and getting a cheaper pit stop. So, we'll see, we'll see. Oh yeah, one day, Rory. Yeah. Definitely, man. Why is Alonso in the pit lane? Because he qualified 19th yesterday. So for Aston Martin, they might as well make some brake part firm and make some setup changes. So by doing that, they'll be able to they're able to start from the pit lane. It makes sense rather than him starting on the grid. Yeah, he's going to need something special today, Alonso. Some assistance with a safety car to make his way through the pack. The Aston doesn't look that great this weekend, even with some upgrades that they've brought, which has kind of been the story with Aston Martin. Their development path hasn't been good. Hasn't really been that good. They started off the new regulation set well, but yeah, they've really slowed with development. So, I mean, if it wasn't for Alonso, I mean, you could say, yeah, if it wasn't for Alonso, and let's say they had another subpar driver like Lance Stroll, they wouldn't be scoring hardly any points. So, I don't stream the actual race, Oleg, because that would be copyright. I'm not able to do that. So we have the live timings, we have the track map here, so you have at least a position of the drivers out on track, and then, of course, I provide you my brilliant alternative commentary. How do I think Yuki will do? I expect Yuki to be fighting around where he is. I think he'll be... I can't remember what their long runs were like. But I'd probably expect him to be fighting Hamilton, if I'm all honest with you. I think Russell's got a bit of a more comfortable setup. I think Russell's going to be in a bit of no man's land today. Probably just be comfortably P6 behind that top 5. But I think Yuki's fight is really with Hamilton. Because Hamilton hasn't looked comfortable in the car again this weekend. Was a bit off of pace with his teammates. But yeah, look, ultimately, Tsunoda and Ricciardo's aim here is to finish where they're starting. Get some good points for them, for the team. Don't make any silly mistakes. Stay out of trouble. And yeah, it'll be a good weekend for both of them. Yuki P6, potentially, yeah. I think Hulkenberg can surprise us this weekend, and Ricciardo with good strategies. Yeah, I mean, look, Perez, you do expect Perez to move up, but it's not easy to overtake here at this circuit. And we've seen that the Red Bull doesn't have the top speed advantage that it's had at other circuits either, so. Stroll and Sargent, the ultimate driver combo for Aston Martin. Imagine. God, I don't even want to think about how tragic that driver pairing would be. Hey, Florian, good to see you, buddy. Vettel and Alonso in the same team would be amazing. Maybe. I don't think Vettel's going to come back anytime soon, though. Right, guys. Not long. Under 10 minutes now until this race gets underway. If you can hit the like button, only 6 more likes until we get to 100 likes. That'd be great if we can hit 100 before the race begins. Of course, keep hitting the subscribe button if you're new here and you haven't subscribed. Please do. Rear grip from Lewis Hamilton, apparently. Even his spin was rear going. Yeah, his spin was more so the rear of the car. He just took too much curb for Aqua Minerale through turn 12. That was more so. That's why the rear went on him there. Easy done. Done it plenty of times in the sim. But yeah, he just hasn't looked comfortable again, has he? But not that he really cares. There was a video actually of Lewis at the end of qualifying, where obviously all the cars are parked up, and he was walking around the Ferrari, just admiring the car that he's going to be driving next year. Afternoon, Graham. Good to see you, mate. Good to see you. You have Sargent in an F1 game is better than Bottas. That's a game. It's not real life. Oh, sorry. Clear my throat. 125 likes. Thank you, guys. Thank you. How about stake pit stops? Yeah, really been letting the teams down, haven't they? Hopefully RB learnt from last time they started high up and got swamped by the soft starters. Yeah, I think they'll be starting on the... Yeah, I don't know why, if you're in the top 10, you would even bother starting on the hards. Just start on the mediums. Track position is more key. I do only think that maybe Perez and Alonso might be those who start on the hards because they're out of position. I don't know, maybe even Perez might start on the mediums, but... I think the likes of Alonso will start on the hard. Maybe a couple of those further down, like Albon maybe. Just a goal hang for a safety car. Might be key for them here to pick up some positions and some potential points today. So... Oh, thanks, Co. Yeah, thank you, buddy. Do I think Ferrari will get constructors next year? I don't know. I'm not going to make predictions that far ahead. It's just... I'm happy that we've just got... like a closer fight at the moment. I was really worried that after Miami that it was just an outlier race and that we was going to see like more like return to dominance at Imola with Red Bull. But of course Max is on pole position, but it's a lot closer. So yeah, I think it's not. I don't think it's so much Red Bull struggling. It's the fact of it that other teams have caught up. That's basically what it is. We always said there was going to be a ceiling in performance gain that the Red Bull was going to be able to achieve because they've had such an advantage anyway. So it was more so, it was at some point the other teams were going to catch up. I just didn't expect it to be kind of this early. I thought it would be later on in the season with a bit more of a closer championship next year, but still Red Bull with the main advantage, which they still do have. But yeah, I mean, credit to McLaren and to Ferrari, where they've definitely caught up a lot quicker than I thought they would. That's not to say that we won't go to other circuits throughout the rest of this year, and Red Bull still will probably win races by like 10, 15 seconds. But that's kind of the case for F1 anyway. There's certain tracks where different tyre compounds as well. We're on the softest compound of tyre. Maybe that's not suiting the Red Bull here this week also. Which means that, yeah, we go to a track where they've got a harder compound of tyre and Red Bull are much more comfortable, you know. So I don't hate Red Bull, Lucky. No, I just want to see closer racing. That's all. I just want to see close racing. Red Bull aren't my favourite team by any means, but I don't hate them. And I don't hate Max, just like he's not my favourite driver. But I respect him. I respect the team as well. Like what they've done with that package they've put together and how they've dominated, you can only tip your cap to them because it's the other teams who have not got it right. So, yeah. But look, we want to see closer racing. And look, if Max still wins today, but it's a great fight out up front, that's what we want. That's what we want to see. We don't want to see someone win a championship by 20, every race by 20 odd seconds, you know? So 5 minutes, time to refresh the leaderboard. 5 minutes. Right, guys. There's potential for it, Graham. There is potential. What a storyline that would be. But who knows what happens next year? Who knows what happens? Right, guys. Where am I? What am I doing? Come on, tyres. Where are the tyres? Break. Right, just go for a quick lube break, guys. Right, here we go, here we go, here we go. Here we go, here we go. Right, tyres. Oh, okay, guys. So we have Gasly starting on the soft compound tyre. We have Alonso starting on the soft as well, which is intriguing. I thought he'd start on the hard compound. We also have Perez, as predicted, starting on the hard compound tyre. So he's going to try and probably goal hang for a bit of a safety car. And then we have who else there? Zhou on the hards and Sargent on the hards as well. Which I'm surprised Logan Sargent's on the hards, because I think that man needs as much confidence as possible, to be honest with you. I mean, he had 2 offs yesterday. So yeah, that's quite something, to be honest with you. But yeah, everyone's starting on the mediums up front as predicted. So yeah, not long, guys, not long. Only a couple of minutes until this race gets underway. Thank you everyone for tuning in. What's my situation? What's my thoughts on the Sainz Audi situation? I think it'd be silly to take that seat, to be honest with you. If the Red Bull seat and the Mercedes seat is on offer to him, I think it'd be silly to take Audi, because there's no guarantee that team is going to be up front fighting for positions come 2026, and he moves there next year. I mean, I just think he's a top driver. Sainz doesn't deserve to be. I mean, arguably he could quite easily have been kept at Ferrari as well. I don't think he deserves to be shoved down the middle of the pack. I think he should be in a top team, and I think any top team should want him as well. Good morning from Miami. Good to see you, Monique. Good to see you. Lewis Hamilton could surprise us today. I don't think so. I like your positivity. But yes, guys, only a couple of minutes away until the formation lap gets underway. I'm going to end the poll because there's nearly 1,000 of you who have voted in this poll, which is great. 46% of you say Verstappen is going to win this race. 23% say Leclerc, 22% say Norris, and Piastri 7%. I'm surprised Norris is so low, to be honest with you guys. I'm surprised. Not many people have faith in the McLaren of Lando Norris. That is where my bet is. I think two wins in succession for Lando Norris. He waited for the first one for quite a while. But here we go. Formation lap is underway, guys. We are only a minute or so until this race gets underway. Thank you everyone for tuning in to this 7th round of the F1 2024 calendar at Imola. It's our 7th watch along, and I'm sure it's going to be our biggest and best one yet. So if you can continue to hit that like button and subscribe throughout this stream, it'd be much appreciated. And yeah, hopefully, who knows, maybe we can hit 25,000. It's a lot of subs to ask for, but look, I'm an ambitious guy. But yes, not long to go, guys. Not long to go. I'm excited. Is there going to be drama on the first lap? Max Verstappen already round halfway through this circuit, pretty much, of this lap, as Logan Sargent is only just leaving his grid box there. So the front of the pack is going to be waiting on the front of the grid for a little while, as Max, now slows up the pack. Not long to go. Not long to go. God, I feel like I've got a frog stuck in my throat. Apologies. $1,200 of you in here for this race starts. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Here we go. There's only one DRS zone here today, guys, as Natalie has just asked. So that is down the start-finish straight from, I think, just after turn 18 all the way down to turn 2. So, yeah, there used to be a DRS down into the Variante Alta chicane, which is turn 14 and 15, but no longer. So primarily, that is where you're going to see most overtakes occur down into turn 2, but that doesn't mean that that will be the only place we do see overtakes. There's no room for error here at Imola this year with the addition of a number of gravel traps as well. So you have to be careful about making a move because, of course, as we know, drivers on the outside don't have the preference of those on the inside. They do have the luxury of being able to force those out of track. So you have to be efficient with your overtakes and make sure you make them stick. And yeah, you could quite easily end up losing more positions than you were trying to gain. Right, but here we go, guys. Only a few seconds now until this Imola Grand Prix gets underway as Alonso is trudging his way to the end of the pit lane, starting in 20th position on those soft compound tyres. Verstappen lines up, and let's have a look through this grid. It's Verstappen in P1, Norris P2, Leclerc P3, Sainz 4th, Piastri 5th, Russell 6th, Tsunoda 7th, Hamilton 8th, Ricciardo 9th, Hulkenberg 10th, Perez 11th, Ocon 12th, Stroll 13th, Albon 14th, Gasly 15th, Bottas 16th, Zhou 17th, Magnussen 18th, and at the back of the grid there, lining up now, is Logan Sargent in the Williams. But here we go. As they line up on this grid, there are red flares being lit everywhere down that start-finish straight by the Tifosi. But here we go. The Imola Grand Prix is underway. It's green light and away we go. And who's got a good start here? It seems like Max Verstappen might have got a bit of a slow start there with Lando Norris, as Lando's got ahead of Max down into turn 2 here, and we'll see if he's able to hold on to this position. We know Max gets his elbows out a little bit, but Charles Leclerc did lose a position to Carlos Sainz, but then regains it back. But Max Verstappen holds on to P1 for now as they head down into the second chicane for the first time. Yuki Tsunoda unfortunately has lost 2 positions there from Lewis Hamilton and Nico Hulkenberg, who's got a great start as Ricciardo has fallen outside of the top 10 already to turn to P11, so that's not a great start from the AlphaTauri cars or the VCARB cars there, both losing 2 positions. But Esteban Ocon trading positions there from Lance Stroll as Alonso is now heading his way to the back of this pack. But the top 6 are as they are, as Magnussen has had a good start to this race, gaining 2 positions on the Stake F1 teams as it was through this tight middle sector. Not many overtaking opportunities here. I wonder if anyone might have a chance into the Variante Alta chicane. No, all seems to be single file as we're coming to the end of our first lap of racing here at the Imola Grand Prix as they head through the Ravazzas, the last sector where Max Verstappen was slower than the McLarens in the qualifying session yesterday. But you can see here, as they cross the start-finish line, Max Verstappen is your leader by just under 9 tenths from the McLaren of Lando Norris. But this is where the top speed of the McLaren is going to come into it. You can see here, look how Lando's closing in that toe of Verstappen. And next time around, they cross that turn 18, we will have DRS. Only 1 lap now for these cars before we have a DRS, no longer the 2 laps required. So it's important for Lando here to stay within the DRS of that Max as he can. Of course, a little bit more dirty air being thrown off of that Red Bull than Norris would be expecting, maybe, as of course what he would have had in clean air in qualifying. But you can already see here that the likes of Lando pulling out a bit of a gap to Charles Leclerc as he's just broken the toe there of Leclerc, or the DRS range. You can see that the highlighted interval, but also Lando losing it importantly from Verstappen as well. But as long as he's around 1 second behind Max, he will get that toe and get back into the DRS zone of Max Verstappen. But can he get it under braking as they head down to turn 17? This is important for Lando Norris. I don't think he's going to get DRS this time around, and that's important for Max Verstappen because it's where he's going to be vulnerable, is down this start-finish straight. Here we go. Let's keep an eye on that interval. Leclerc does have DRS as Lando does regain the DRS, gets back in the range of Verstappen, but because he didn't cross the DRS line with that inside that 1 second range, he doesn't get the DRS from Max Verstappen. But at the moment, it's still Verstappen first, Norris second, Leclerc third, Sainz fourth, Piastri fifth, and George Russell sixth, who is already losing ground to that top five as we expected. A little bit further down the pack, you can see that Perez gained a position earlier on and he's up into P10, but at the moment there hasn't been any change of positions as Alonso is now on the back of Logan Sargent. Differing compounds there from those two. Don't expect Alonso to get caught behind the Williams for very long. But interestingly here, you can see that the top five, the top two of Verstappen and Norris pulling away from Leclerc slightly. Sainz is stuck up behind Leclerc, 6 tenths behind him, and Piastri quite a similar distance behind as well. But George Russell, those Mercedes, expect to see them fall off as this race goes on. They were a second slower than Max Verstappen and Lando Norris last time around, the Mercedes of Russell and Lewis Hamilton. So they definitely don't have the pace here this weekend. Apologies, Mercedes fans. But here we go again. Verstappen just staying ahead of that DRS range of Lando Norris. Importantly, when they get through that last sector, Norris maybe just being affected by that dirty air, but that was the fastest last sector for Lando Norris this time around. But you can see there, apologies, that Norris is gaining in the toe of Max, even without DRS, but then loses it kind of under braking. But those two are pulling away from Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. Oscar Piastri is quicker, it seems, than Carlos Sainz and Leclerc in front, but he's not able to take advantage of getting past Sainz at the moment because of Sainz getting the DRS assistance and tow from Charles Leclerc. But a little bit further back, still no change in position. As we've seen at this circuit, the drivers kind of going single file at the moment. So we'll see if anyone decides to pull the trigger and try a potential undercut in this race to get some clean air. That is going to be important. We'll see who is going to pull the trigger first. Normally the Alpines are quite aggressive when it comes to that strategy. I imagine Gasly will do so as he's on the soft compound tyre, and maybe even Alonso, who's at the back and not able to get past Logan Sargent at the moment. It's a bit of a DRS train. But you can see there Max Verstappen 1.5 seconds ahead of Lando Norris now. It seems to be that Lando's struggling a little bit more in that dirty air than we expected, and is not able to take advantage of that DRS of Max Verstappen. But you can see he is still gaining down that start-finish straight. That interval comes down by about 2 tenths just from him being in the tow and the top speed advantage that Lando does have. But importantly for Max, he is nailing that last sector, Max. But how much is that taking out of his tyres? He could be sliding a little bit more and being a bit more aggressive than the McLaren is, which will not help him as this race continues. We'll keep an eye on the sector times next time around. But you can see there the top five pulling away from the Mercedes of George Russell and Lewis Hamilton. Those two might have a bit of a lonely race today. Maybe there might be some spiciness between those two teammates. But Hülkenberg is ahead of Yuki Tsunoda. Sergio Perez not able to make up any ground on the V-Carb car of Yuki Tsunoda. But he is on the hard compound tyre. So he's just expecting to keep this car clean and pick those off and go long in this race. Potentially for a safety car later on. Daniel Ricciardo in 11th, and yeah, from then on, really down from Hülkenberg, it is pretty much a DRS train all the way down to P20, although Albon seems to have lost the DRS of Lance Stroll, importantly, and Ocon as well, so a couple of gaps forming in that middle. But this time around, you can see Verstappen and Norris, the top three all pretty much have the same last sector times at the moment. Max Verstappen is much quicker in the middle sector, and that is where he's gaining the time. But it looked like there was maybe a potential move from Piastri on Sainz down into turn 2. But Verstappen is at this moment in time making up all the time in the middle sector, and that's probably because he has clean air ahead of him to punch away into, whereas Norris has the dirty air coming off of Verstappen's car into his front nose, under braking into Aqua Minerale. Let's have a look at this again with the second sector time and see exactly what difference there is. 1.8 second gap now between Verstappen and Norris as they head up into the Variante Alta chicane. A 28.0 again from Max Verstappen and a 28.1. So that was better this time around for the McLaren of Lando Norris. And you can see there Leclerc, Sainz and Piastri all 2 tenths, 3 tenths slower than Verstappen and Norris. So that is where Max is really nailing it at the moment, being in clean air, whereas those behind in the dirty air are just struggling a little bit more. But how much is Max taking out of his tyres? Let's see as they cross the start-finish line. And you can see there that, yeah, the last sector is a great last sector there from Charles Leclerc. The last sector is really where I think they're going to be able to make up the time. But maybe Norris is just biding his time here on Max, making sure not to take too much life out of his tyres. We saw him do this in the Miami GP as well, where he was patient behind Perez. And he didn't force the issue. I didn't want to lose as much time. And then when he got into clean air, he really laid down the sector times. Now, of course, the thing is here is that Max is still not quite putting out enough of a gap or an advantage, because any of those Ferrari drivers or Piastri, they could pull the trigger and do a potential undercut and gain track position. Track position is going to be key here today, guys. So, yeah, Max needs to push, but he can't push too hard. Otherwise, he's going to kill his tyres. So, while there's not any overtaking happening at the moment, it is panning out to be a very intriguing race. And I think mostly this is going to be decided in the pit stops and with strategy. It may get a bit punchy towards the end, but you can see there once bit more of a level time there in the second sector for Verstappen and Norris. Maybe Norris just dropping back, trying to get a bit of clean air and manage those tyres as they cross the start-finish line again for the 7th time this race. And, well, a much better time in the last sector for Verstappen, but not too much difference between Lando and Norris. For them, it was a 20.9 for Norris and a 20.868 for Verstappen. So, yeah, not a lot separating them. Piastri is starting to badger Sainz, though, as Sainz has fallen out of the DRS of Leclerc, and this is not good news for Sainz. And Piastri needs to get past Carlos Sainz soon. He needs to get past him soon. But you can see there, Nico Hulkenberg in the is punching a hole ahead of him, as there's quite an evident train now behind him with Tsunoda and Perez. A couple of gaps forming. Ricciardo falling back a little bit as well. Ocon has Stroll over the back of him. But at the moment, we haven't seen any overtakes since the first lap, guys. Since the first lap, which I'm a little bit surprised about. I won't lie to you. I'm a little bit surprised about that. Prediction on Alonso retiring early. Well, he's in the pit lane now, and he's coming out on a hard compound tyre. So, yeah, evidently not able to make use of that soft compound tyre. He was getting stuck behind Logan Sargent. And he's decided to come in and pit. And, yeah, he'll be able to he's going to try and take these hard compound tyres to the end of the race. But not a great day thus far for Fernando Alonso. Undercut, you guess. Yeah, the undercut's... I don't know if the undercut's powerful here, though. That's the thing. I don't know. Right, let's keep an eye on Piastri. He is in the DRS of Carlos Sainz as he heads ever closer and closer down into turn 2. Is he going to make a move? No, it's just not close enough out of the last corner to get ahead of that pacey Ferrari. We're starting to see some guys pull the trigger very early here. Only 8 laps into this race, or 8 laps completed, as we're on lap 9 at the moment, and Bottas is in, Gasly, Albon as well, all getting in early to try and get themselves some clean air. Because this is, it does seem like it's very difficult to overtake here. I thought the front 5 would be a bit closer than they are. But Max is doing good laps at the front, seems to be managing the pace. I think Norris is just trying to manage his tyres and drop back a little bit out of the dirty air of Max Verstappen. He does seem to be a bit slower in that middle sector than that of Max at the moment. Something seems to have really sorted itself out with Max in that middle sector. He was struggling there yesterday, but seems to be really comfortable, and that's where they're losing the time at the moment. But you've got to see there, Alonso gets ahead of Albon there. An on-track overtake, guys, into turn 5 by Alonso on Albon. Albon's actually going a little bit slow. And has Albon had an off there? Has Albon had an off? What's happened? He's going very slow, Alex Albon. This is not good. He had engine issues on the Friday practice session, which forced him to bring out the red flag. And he is definitely trudging around the back quite... Has he not got a wheel on properly? Has there been a fouled pit stop? What has happened here, as he's very soon to be caught by Max Verstappen lapping? What has happened to Albon? I'm waiting for the TV coverage to catch up to find out exactly what's happening, but he's not going fast at all. Has he just had contact with Fernando Alonso there in that with that overtake, or has it been a foul pit stop? Is there an error with Albon as the front pack are about to overtake Alex Albon as they head into Variante Alta? This is not ideal for the front pack here. Albon needs to get himself out of the way, and he is going very, very slow as he heads through that chicane. They still haven't really shown the detail of what exactly has happened. But Albon there getting in the way of a lot of drivers. It's not ideal. What has happened? Surely he's got a puncture. He's got to have a puncture. And he's got... What's happened? Sorry guys, I'm just trying to find out exactly what's happened with Alex Albon. And... the tyre's not on properly. Oh no, the tyre's not on properly. Oh no, the tyre's not on properly for Alex Albon. And that's why he's trudged his way back to the pit lane. But that is, I'm not sure how they really see that, the stewards, because normally if a tyre's not on properly, they have to pull over pretty sharpish, and because that's... the tyre could come off, so I'm surprised that he was able to make his way round back to the pit lane there. But that's not good for the Williams team, who decided to do the undercut and come in very early. Now they are lapped by they're going to be about to be lapped by the entire field, which was not ideal for them. So 11 laps into this race, Verstappen is your current leader, 3 seconds ahead of Lando, and well, doesn't seem to be struggling whatsoever, which I'm quite surprised about, to be honest with you. I thought Max would be in his long pace. I thought he would be a little bit more vulnerable than this, but it is only the early stages of this race. We still have 53 laps remaining. That is a long way to go. Charles Leclerc is in P3, 1.8 seconds behind Lando. Sainz in P4. Piastri still badgering him. He is a bit closer than he has been with DRS open. Let's see if he's going to make a move down into turn 2. I think he really needs to be about half a second behind. This is the closest he's been for quite some time. As they head into turn 2, is he going to make a move? No. 2 tenths behind as they went into the braking zone there. But Piastri is getting closer and closer to Carlos Sainz as Daniel Ricciardo now comes into the pit lane, the furthest driver up the grid to make a pit stop. So we'll see where he comes out. There's obviously a gap now between him and Gasly. Very, very long pit stop here, guys. Remember, 28-second pit stop, one of the longest on the calendar. So that's why this is primarily a one-stop race. So he'll be going on the hard tyre to the end. But the way this race is panning out at the moment, just looking at the pit stop of the Alex Albon pit stop, and no, the guy went back to fix it back on, and Alex Albon pulled away. So yeah, they knew pretty sharpish, but the wheel wasn't on. But unfortunately, yeah, he's Alex Albon fans. He's a lap down of the whole field, and will need a safety car to get back on the same lap. 30-second lead in the end. Yes, Albon has been lapped. What is the penalty for Piastri for? Piastri got a penalty for impeding Kevin Magnussen in Q1. Importantly here, guys, for you Mercedes fans, they're not falling back as far behind as I thought they would do. They're sitting 2 seconds behind Piastri and Sainz, who Piastri is trying to overtake as they head down into turn 2 again, but just can't seem to stay close enough out of the last corner. As Tsunoda now comes into the pits as well. Ricciardo got out ahead of Gasly, and as I predicted, yes, Alex Albon's car being released in an unsafe condition is being investigated, so he'll most likely get a penalty for that. But Tsunoda, is he going to come out ahead of Ricciardo? We will see. I think he's comfortably going to come out ahead, as Ricciardo will be going full pelt down into the second corner. It's a very long pit lane, as we have said. Here comes Ricciardo. Is Tsunoda going to stay out ahead of his teammate? And he is. So good pit stops there for the two VCARB cars, who are now alongside each other. They were fighting, of course, Perez and Hülkenberg, but Perez is on the hard compound tyre, not able to get past Hülkenberg. It does feel like, really, that we're in the stage of the race where the drivers are starting to drop back a bit and just stay out of the dirty air, but Max is going much quicker than Lando, who seems to be struggling a bit more than I predicted on this medium compound tyre. He's definitely made a mistake there somewhere, because he was 7 tenths slower this time around than Max Verstappen, and Charles Leclerc has been able to close up that gap on Lando as well. So Lando not as supreme as I thought he was going to be today. There's still a very long way to go in this race, but the ascendancy is definitely with Max Verstappen as Hulkenberg now comes into the pits to respond to the pit stops of the two VCARB cars. Let's see if Hulkenberg is going to be able to retain this position from Yuki Tsunoda, who's already pulled out a bit of a gap on Daniel Ricciardo there. On this outlap. So here we go, Tsunoda coming around turn 18. Let's see, Nico Hulkenberg is just trudging down to the end of the pit lane now, and I think Yuki's going to get this. They could be going side by side here as they head down into turn 2, but I think Yuki's got this as they head down into turn 2, and Yuki's got out ahead of Nico Hulkenberg. A great pit stop there and outlap from the VCARB car of Yuki Tsunoda, who regains that position from the Hulk, and Daniel Ricciardo has closed up the gap as well. And well, Yuki Tsunoda, who should pull away from Nico Hulkenberg, should also allow Ricciardo to close the gap on the Haas driver. But yes, what a great pit stop there and outlap that was from Yuki Tsunoda, who regains the position under the pit stops. So that will allow him some free. Importantly, he's got clean air ahead of him, and he'll be able to just pull away from Nico Hulkenberg, who will be in that dirty air. But we're starting to see now those top 5 drivers. We're seeing Verstappen pull away. He does seem comfortable in that clean air. Lando Norris is starting to struggle on the medium tyres. We're starting to see, really, Norris, Leclerc, Sainz and Piastri struggle on these medium compounds compared to Verstappen on the mediums, who looks very comfortable. So he's putting out a gap, and I did not expect to see this, to be honest with you guys. So I think, unless there's like something by design here and Max is just pushing and pushing, or they're trying to manage their tyres, I think they've got to be thinking about mixing it up a bit and trying a different strategy, potentially going onto the hard tyres a bit sooner. We will see. But yeah, Max definitely in control at the moment. He looks comfortably the fastest, making up all of that time in the middle sector every single lap. Pretty much on par with the other top 5 in the first and last sector, but Max is making up all that time in the middle sector, a sector that he struggled with throughout this weekend, but seems to have figured something out there and feels a lot more comfortable. How many seconds does Max need for a pit stop? 28. A lot. 28 seconds for a pit stop here. So yeah, to pull out a free pit stop is quite a large margin, because that's how long the pit stops are here. But he's now nearly got a 5-second lead over Lando. Whew. Where has that come from? Max is always pushing. Yes, he is indeed. I'm a Carlos fan, but I can't deny how Max is so cool. Yeah, he's in control. Just listening to Ted Kravitz. Yeah, this race has evolved. The Red Bull definitely in control here, and their long run pace, which was a bit of an unknown, seems to be very good. And Lando in clean air there does make up 3 tenths on Max Verstappen in that first sector, and still loses a tenth or so in the second. So the McLaren struggling in that middle sector, but maybe Lando, is this a time for him to have a bit more of a push in this stage of the race? Alex Albon under investigation yet for that unsafe condition of that car. So let's keep an eye on Lando Norris's time here as he comes out of the last corner and crosses the start-finish line. Fastest in the first sector for him last time around, but then look, loses that time again in the last sector, and it was a 21.5 compared to Verstappen's 21.3, and he's losing time here and losing ground on the Red Bull of Max. But this race may flip on its head when it comes to the hard compound tyre, which is no doubt going to be the next tyre that is put on. As we head further down the grid, Russell and Hamilton going quite comfortably here kind of just running their own race, but they're there ready to capitalise if anything happens between Sainz, Piastri, Leclerc, any of those drivers up front. I really did think they would fall to the wayside, but they're not doing so at the moment. Perez is in on his own on the hard compound tyre, trying to go as long as possible. He's going to be hoping potentially for a for a safety car after the guys ahead have pitted, and he will be able to go hang and gain a position. We've seen that happen before with Perez and Max Verstappen with the Red Bulls. It's kind of what he has to hope for today. Lance Stroll up into 9th after those behind have made some pit stops. Ocon in 9th. We have Magnussen up 7 positions at the moment in P11. Guan Yu Zhou in 12th. Sargent in 6th. Of course, they are yet to make those pit stops, and everyone behind Sargent has already made a pit stop. Tsunoda, who got ahead of Nico Hülkenberg after losing a couple of lap positions to Perez and Hamilton at the start of the race, and Hülkenberg regained that position back under the pit stops with an undercut on Hülkenberg. So it was important for Tsunoda and Ricciardo's there as well. Interestingly, Verstappen had his lap time deleted at turn 18, so dipping a wheel. Max is pushing, dipped a wheel in the gravel out of the last corner there. So have to be careful, because that last corner, we have seen incidents there before. But you can see that, Ferrari have just reported Plan B. We are going Plan B. So they're making their way through the alphabet, guys. Again. Top 5 pit stop going to be lit. Yeah, pit stops. This is really what we're waiting for now, is for the pit stops. We'll see what is going to happen under there. Of course, this is still Red Bull being put under pressure, though. They're not pulling away absolutely dramatically. It's only like a tenth or so. I mean, you can see that time around, Norris is starting to make up a bit more time in the first sector compared to Verstappen, but then he loses it again in the middle sector. And then out of the last sector, let's just have a look at those sector times as they cross the start-finish line. Max a 27.3. How about Lando? He does a 27.49. So yeah, losing a bit of time in the middle and last sector, where they were strong. They were strong all weekend, but the Red Bull, they seem to have made maybe added a bit more front end or something, which they're entitled to do, and not break part Ferme rules. Some front wing changes. So yeah. But yeah, guys, if you could hit the subscribe button, it'd be much appreciated. We have over 3,000 of you in this stream. Thank you very much, and only 284 likes. Let's get this stream to over 1,000 likes. And hit the subscribe button. You see that number at the top of your screen in the middle? Let's get that to 23,000. Come on, let's get that to 23,000. There's surely 800 of you in here who haven't hit the subscribe button. Please do if you can. If you're enjoying this stream and this watch along, the 7th race we've done this year. And yeah, it won't be the last, that is for sure. But as this race is unfolding, still no more pit stops yet. Max now pulling out that gap to nearly 6 seconds on Lando. He's about 2 tenths a lap quicker at the moment. I still don't know if this is by design. I can't imagine this would be by design. I imagine that obviously the McLarens would love to be a lot closer to Verstappen, but Verstappen just has the pace at the moment. It's consistently 2 tenths a lap over the Red Bull. Kind of roles reversed to yesterday in qualifying, where Max was quickest in the first sector compared to the McLarens and the Ferraris, where they were fastest in the middle and last sector. Now it's roles reversed, where Norris is the quickest in the first sector, but then the slower in the middle and last sector. But a lot of field spread here at the moment. Back from Logan Sargent, from Yuki Tsunoda backwards is where drivers have made a pit stop thus far. We are 20 laps into this race. We're still 44 remaining. We're still not even anywhere near halfway through this race yet. So a long way to go where anything can still happen. But yeah, lots of gaps out there. The pit stops will be coming very soon. We'll find out what is going to happen then. No rain on the way, of course, only a 10% chance. But interestingly, Alex Albon, even though he's a lap down, catching Alonso is on the hard compound tyre, and Albon is on the medium. So Alonso might have to Albon's in a predicament here. He would like to unlap himself, but hasn't really got anywhere to go. So Oscar killing these tyres. Yeah, I mean, he's staying within the DRS. I mean, let's see how close he can stay. But 2 signs as he heads through the Ravazzas, through turn 18. He is 6 tenths behind signs. But then as they get on throttle out of turn 18, that dirty air, he just cannot get the rear traction. And yeah, he just loses the all-important couple of attempts that he needs to stay and get alongside Carlos Sainz. That's really where they're falling to the wayside at the moment, is that they're just not able to get that traction and stay close enough out of turn 18 with that dirty air of the car ahead. And with there being kind of only one primary overtaking opportunity here, I mean, let's see, Piastri, can he make a lunge? He's staying close, he's badgering Sainz, but I think Sainz is pretty comfortable. He's pretty comfortable. But yeah, at the moment, it's kind of a bit of a procession at the moment, single file. Not a lot of overtaking has occurred, which we were worried about at Imola. I did think that we would end up seeing more overtaking than we have. But yeah, we're going to have to wait really kind of for the next round of pit stops for this race to get a bit more spicy, unless there is a safety car that comes out. I'm now starting to think that we might need a safety car for this race to get a bit spicy, but we'll see, we'll see. Just watching Max Verstappen replay as he went over the chicane, and he got some proper airtime through the chicane there. So yeah, Max, if you think Max is taking it easy, he is not whatsoever. He is definitely trying to build out as much of a gap as he possibly can. Leclerc low-key catching up to Norris. Yes, last time around he was 2 tenths faster. Last time around Leclerc was actually running the same pace as Norris. And we can see here, look, Verstappen got track limits again. His second track limits violation at turn 6 of all places. So Max Verstappen already has 2 track limits violations, the most out of anyone out there, as well as the other Red Bull of Sergio Perez, as Russell is the first of those top drivers to pull the trigger and come into the pit lane. Where is he going to come out? Is he going to come out ahead of Esteban Ocon and Kevin Magnussen? Esteban Ocon is still yet to make a pit stop, as well as Magnussen. And he's going to slot in right behind Esteban Ocon on the hard compound tyre. So let's see if... I don't think the McLarens and the Ferraris will be responding too much to the Mercedes. But we'll see how much progression Russell can make. Can he dispatch Esteban Ocon pretty quickly? And Albon has a 10-second stop-go penalty for an unsafe release, unsafe condition of the car, which, yeah, I always expect that was going to be the case. They do punish that. Normally cars are asked to pull over to the side if their car is released in an unsafe manner. And Lando Norris, okay, here we go, guys. Lap 23, Lando Norris is the first of those top drivers, of the top 5, to come into the pit lane. So they've seen a gap for him. Let's hope it's a good pit stop for the McLaren team, and it does seem to be so. He's on his way again. He's going to be coming out onto the hard compound tyre, and he's going to get out ahead of Perez, and that's probably what they wanted to do, was get him out ahead of Perez. His lap times were suffering a bit. Come on, Norris. Stay ahead of Perez. Stay ahead of Perez. Is Perez going to get ahead of you as they head down into turn 2? Is he going to... Oh, no. Lando fans, that's going to be tough, because Perez now is going to block like hell on Lando Norris. But hopefully with a brand new set of tyres, Lando will be able to get that grip out of the last corner and get past Perez. He needs to, if he has any opportunity of still wanting to win this race. I think it's a tall order, but that was not ideal for the McLaren team, him coming out behind Sergio Perez here, because this is now going to affect his whole outlap, where he would have clean air to run in, just to drive into. He's now got a and track limits again for Max Verstappen. One more track limits violation, and Max Verstappen will occur a 5-second time penalty. One more track limits violation, and Max Verstappen will occur a 5-second time penalty. Wow, that's a long way to go for no more track limits violations for Max Verstappen, who has already had 3. So black and white flag for him. But let's see, Lando with that extra grip, much closer to Perez, to any other car he's been all day, and with the DRS should make quick work of this Red Bull. Come on, Lando. Come on. as they head down into turn 2, and I don't think Perez has an answer to that top speed and that extra grip that Lando Norris has, and that was so important for Lando Norris not to get caught behind the Red Bull for any longer, and Piastri comes out ahead of George Russell as well. The two McLarens both pitting thus far, where the Ferrari drivers will most likely want to go on a bit longer. So let's see, do the Red Bull team respond to those pit stops of the McLaren drivers? Do the Ferraris as well, as we are starting to see a lot more we are starting to see a lot more happening at the moment in regards to track limits. Tsunoda also getting a track limits violation. Yes, while a 5-second time penalty might not be the be-all and end-all, but it does mean that he would have to take it during the pit stop, which he isn't now. So Max Verstappen is coming into the pit lane. He is responding as Leclerc takes the lead of this race. Carlos Sainz will be promoted to P2. Let's see how close. It seems to be a good pit stop from the Red Bull team, as we are so used to seeing. But how close will Norris be to Max Verstappen? How much time did he lose stuck behind Perez on his outlap as they head down into turn 2? And, well, Lando, he was around 6 seconds behind Verstappen, 7 seconds behind Verstappen at the pit stops. And he's made a great outlap there, a fastest lap of the race of 20.4. And, well, it does seem like that gap to Verstappen, it has closed 4.4 seconds. But you do wonder, him being caught up behind Perez for his outlap, how much time did he lose? You've got to think that it affected him and that he could have been on the rear wing of Max if he didn't get caught behind Perez for that outlap. So we'll see if Lando is going to be able to be better on this hard compound tyres than he was on the mediums to Max. But Max does have a bit of an advantage, as we can see, 4.7 seconds ahead of Lando. But that is the one and only pit stop that we expect to see here today, guys. So let's have a little look back down the grid as Perez is going long on this hard compound tyre. Piastri in P7 setting the fastest first sector. Also making a pit stop, the Ferrari drivers now into the pit lane. Charles Leclerc comes into the pits. Carlos Sainz extends slightly more. So Charles Leclerc, let's see. He's lost a lot of time staying out there for a bit longer. It might have been the wrong mistake for Ferrari to keep him out there that long. We will see. But once again, it seems to be a good pit stop from the Ferrari team. He's got underway, but Max Verstappen setting a purple last sector there. Seems to be a good outlap from him, as he's already extended that lead to 5.1 seconds over Lando Norris. We'll see what his first time lap will be as he comes round. But also for Leclerc, Perez going long is getting in the way of these drivers, as he's got ahead of Leclerc into the second corner, and once again Perez is going to absolutely stop the outlap of Charles Leclerc. And, well, this is just Perez, Red Bull. He's doing an absolute dream job for the Red Bull team at the moment. While, of course, they would like him to be further up and supporting Verstappen, he's doing the next best thing, which is just getting in the way by running long. There is no way to defend, to overtake here throughout throughout pretty much the most of this lap, other than the first corner. And, well, yes, look at it. Look, with brand new tyres, Leclerc has now got Piastri on the back of him, where he was hoping to be closer to Nando. But, yeah, wow, Perez, Ministry of Defence. Yuki overtake? Where? No, he didn't. He's still ahead of Hulkenberg. But Alex Albon is a lap down, so he had to take a 10-second time penalty because of the being released in an unsafe condition. So, yeah. Leclerc crying in his car right now. Yeah. So, what's happened to Sainz? Sainz is going long. But we can see Lando. So, Verstappen is now coming up on Albon, who will have to get out of the way. He will be racing Hamilton for position, but I think you would imagine that he would make quick work of Hamilton as he gets down to the start-finish straight. But, yeah, we will see. Hamilton had track limits violation at turn 13 last time around as well. So, there's a lot of track limits violations. These drivers are pushing out there. So Carlos Sainz, let's see if he comes into the pit lane here. You've got to think that he will be going long, trying to go as long as possible. We will see. But will Verstappen get past Hamilton down into turn 2? This could help Lando if Hamilton is able to hold Max up for an extra lap. Sainz comes into the pit lane. Will the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton also come into the pit lane? Lando needs Hamilton to stay out here if possible. And he doesn't. Damn it. Hamilton comes into the pit lane, which is not kind of what we wanted for Lando, because that means that, Verstappen is got clean air ahead of him again. But that gap to Verstappen and Norris is now 5.6 seconds. A 21.0 for Verstappen to Lando. He just has about a tenth on him at the moment. We will see as Leclerc now free of Perez and Piastri as well, running in the low 120s. So let's see if Leclerc can catch up to the back of Lando. He did seem to be running quite well at the end of that first stint compared to Lando. So this is it now, guys. Pretty much to the end of the race as we are nearly approaching halfway through this race. Does Alonso have something wrong with his car? He's now falling further and further behind. Yeah, you'll probably see Alonso retire soon. He just doesn't care. He'll make up some excuse soon that he doesn't want to be out there. So yeah. How did he drop to P6 in second? Yeah, well, because Sergio Perez is there, he stayed out longer. So they're hoping that Sainz has more... will have fresher tyres, but Perez is out there goal hanging at the moment for a potential safety car. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that strategy is going to work for Ferrari. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, guys, if you can please hit the subscribe button now. I know there's a number of you in here who would have not subscribed. And thank you to... Apologies, I missed it. There's so many chats, so much chat to go through. I do apologise. I did see the super like come through. Thank you very much for your pound. Much appreciated. But yeah, if you could hit the like button. We've only got 400 likes in this stream. Please hit the like button and get this stream to over 1,000 likes. Hit that thumbs up. It does help with the algorithm of YouTube. And yeah, if you're enjoying the commentary and you want to come back here for more F1 content, please hit the subscribe button. See that number? Let's get that to 23,000. Come on, you can do it. There's got to be 800, 700 of you in this stream who have yet to hit that subscribe button. Thank you, guys. Thank you for all the subs. If you have and it hasn't come up as an alert, much appreciated. But yes, we are 35 laps through this race. So yeah, sorry, we are 35 laps remaining. So nearly halfway through this race. And we have seen our one and only pit stop. Yeah, saw the overtake with Yuki Tsunoda on Sargent. So a great overtake from him. Go on, Yuki. He is now up looking at the back of Zhou. Of course, he needs to be careful of Hulkenberg behind him. But once those drivers ahead make pit stops, he will be back up to P8 behind Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. But you can see here that Sainz now on the back of Perez, who's just trying to stay out there as long as possible. I wonder if they'll pit him anytime soon. We will see. But Verstappen, let's have a look at that lead out up front. Just has... Where have they found the pace? Where have the Red Bull found the pace? I don't get it. They've found and unlocked the pace after struggling all throughout the practice sessions, looking weak even in qualifying. I know he was on pole, but like... And he's now just absolutely trouncing everyone again. 3 tenths faster a lap than Lando. I really thought the McLarens would have an opportunity at Max today, but it's another supreme performance for Max Verstappen in that Red Bull and supreme performance for that team. It's yeah, really good. Really, you have to just tip your cap to them. Who do I think is going to win? It's Max's to lose now. It's definitely Max's to lose. A safety car would spice things up again. But yeah, we've seen that it's difficult to follow here and difficult to overtake. That's why qualifying was so important. It is kind of Monaco-esque, really. I did think with the pace difference that the McLarens have, the top speed, I thought they'd be able to overtake Max, but just haven't been able to stay close throughout the last sector and out of the last corner with that dirty air. The dirty air is a lot more prevalent now than it was in the first year of the regulation set, and quite evidently, even with a top speed advantage that the McLarens have, they're just not able to overtake Max Verstappen or stay close enough But Sainz got past Perez as Russell's now going to be overtaking Perez here down into turn 2. They're going to go side by side. And George Russell makes the overtake on Perez down into turn 2 and will be eyeing up Carlos. Well, maybe eyeing up Carlos Sainz. Don't think there's going to be much that he could deal with. As Albon makes his 4th pit stop today. Again, Alex Albon's in the pits. He's now 2 laps down. Hamilton is going to be coming up to Lance Stroll soon as well, who is still yet to pit as well. We've done 31 laps on the mediums. And I will admit, guys, I do feel like this race needs a safety car of some sort to spice it up again. We will see as Gasly comes into the pit lane down in 19th position. The two Alpines are going to be 18th and 19th. Not really good performance from them at the moment. Alonso up into 17th place, running in no man's land after the issues he had after his crash in FP3 and qualifying. As Hamilton gets past Stroll into the Variante Alta chicane. And I think that might be the first overtake we've seen at the chicane other than down into turn 2 all day. So fair play to Lewis Hamilton there. And Piastri and McLaren are reporting that the degradation looks higher than expected. And I think that's what's caught McLaren out today, is that the deg on the cars has just been higher than expected and caught them out, which is why they have just not been able to handle with the pace of Max, who seems to be much more in control with that tyre deg and that tyre management. But yeah, you can see that Leclerc is under attack from Piastri, but as Piastri was in the early stages of this race, he just couldn't stay close enough behind Carlos Sainz out of the last sector to make an overtake down into turn 2. As Tsunoda looking at the back of Guan Yu Zhou now, who is on 31 lap old hard tyres, yet to make a pit stop. Tsunoda will be thinking about making quick work of him and not wanting to lose as little time as possible as Sargent comes into the pit lane. And will he resume his usual position at the back of the pack? Gasly coming around the last corner now. Let's see if he gets out ahead of Gasly here for that P19 position. And I think Gasly is going to get out ahead of Sargent here. And it will be the 2 Williams drivers in 19th and 20th position. Not a great weekend for the Williams team at all. A real shame for Alex Albon, of course, with that pit stop error of not securing the front right tyre and incurring an extra 10-second time penalty. But Max Verstappen, it's important for Lando Norris to try and stay within that 5-second range if he can. At the moment, he's not able to, because Max Verstappen is only 1 track limits violation away from a 5-second time penalty, guys. But at the moment, it does seem to be that Max is in control of this race, and it will require some outside influence like a safety car to remove him from the lead. But yes, Lando, a 120.9 last time around to Verstappen's 120.7. That's been the story of this race, where he's just been quicker in that middle sector and the last sector to the McLaren drivers, where they need that grip. And as Yuki Tsunoda gets past Guan Yu Zhou down into turn 2, importantly putting a car between him and Hulkenberg for at least another lap. Good overtake there from Yuki, the only driver who's kind of providing us a bit of action at the moment with some overtakes. As well, George Russell, is he closing on Sainz? No, he's not closing on Sainz. I'm seeing things there. 20.6 from Sainz last time around and 21.1. But what we may see as the latter stages of this race, guys, is with the tyre deg, we may see drivers struggling with little lockups, little mistakes here and there as they start to lose grip towards the end of this race. We know already that there's a lot more gravel traps everywhere, and there's little room for error. This circuit is very punishable, and all it takes is just a slight off from Max, as we've seen in practice, or any other driver for that matter, and we get some more drama. We seriously need a safety SF in this race. I suggest Stroll spins out. Come on, Stroll, do us a solid. Why am I not showing the race like the actual race? Because that would be copyright infringement, Misha, and I would lose my channel. And I don't want to do that. Come on, Piastri, let's get Leclerc. Yes. Don't you dare defend Yuki, K-Man. Lewis on Variante Alta. Yeah, it was a good overtake from him, as he's now eyeing up Sergio Perez, who is just goal hanging for a safety car. We still have 30 laps remaining in this race, so we are about halfway through now, I think, if my maths is correct. No, we're still not halfway through this race. Is that right? 34 laps, 63, 20, 36 is... Yeah, we are halfway through this race. Sorry. My maths is terrible. We are halfway, just over halfway through this race. Just over. So, do I think Sauber will score points today? No. Will Driving Simulator help F1's driver skill? Of course it will. Yeah, it does help their skills. So, right, Hamilton is in the DRS of Perez now. Is he going to have a move? Seems like Perez is really struggling here on this 34-lap old hard tyres. Hamilton is on 7-lap old hards, but Hamilton not able to make an overtake down into turn 2, but we have seen him make an overtake into Variante Alta already with that extra grip that he will have over Perez. Let's keep an eye out on those two as they're very close at this moment in time in the out there on the grid. So Hamilton, let's see how much grip he has out of turn 7 here. And look at that, so much closer. You can see the interval time there of Hamilton highlighted as he's in the DRS of Sergio Perez. Let's see if he gets a good exit out of turn 12, and we'll be lining up that move down into turn 14, the chicane of Variante Alta again, like he did just a couple of laps ago. And Lando Norris said, Lando reporting, they're reporting to him they have a lot more tyres. They're using their tyres a lot more than we are, but Lando reporting we have no pace. So yeah, the McLarens have been really caught out for some reason this race day with their long race pace, which is very contrary to what we saw in the practice sessions. But Hamilton here, okay, not able to get the move on the rest of the circuit, but he is very tucked up behind Perez now, half a second behind. But we do know the McLaren is not that quick in a straight line, but with DRS, with that extra grip, surely he has the grip to have a go at Perez down into turn 2 here. Does he make a move? Does he make a lunge? Oh, no, he doesn't. He stays just behind, and that's kind of the case of this this Mercedes car, is that it's just a bit too draggy, and even with the extra grip, just not able to pull up alongside and make overtakes where you would see other cars like the McLaren and Ferrari be able to do so, where they've made quick work of Sergio Perez with that extra grip that they had to hand, and with the efficient straight line speed that they have, the Mercedes just doesn't quite have it, and that's just an indication of how draggy and poor their aero package is compared to the other teams ahead of them. But Hamilton does seem to be a bit closer again through turn 12. Will we be able to get that extra grip and make a move down into turn 14? No DRS here like there has been in years gone by. And no, once again, Hamilton just has to sit pretty behind Perez. We will see if he's going to be able to make a move again for another attempt down into turn 2. But unless he's like 3 attempts behind, I don't see it happening, or if Perez comes into the pit lane. But yeah, Hamilton not able at the moment. So there we go. Once again, let's have a look. He is a lot closer though, 4 attempts behind Perez. DRS will be activated and turned open as you just see it be highlighted there. Let's see. Has he got it? Has he got enough? He's 2 attempts. He's gaining a lot more now. He is gaining a lot more now. At least going to go side by side down into turn 2. And Hamilton on the brakes makes the move on Sergio Perez. Second time around on Sergio. Gets that move done. He really had to be tucked up behind that rear wing of the Red Bull out of turn 18. And finally gets a move done on the Red Bull of Perez. But that is a real clear indication of how poor that Mercedes is at the moment, guys. But it's struggling to get past a Red Bull which has 25 lap older tyres than what you're currently on. So yeah, Hamilton, that will now release him into free air and try and catch up with his teammate, but don't really expect anything more from the Mercedes drivers than where they are today. Yeah, that's just where they are. They're the 4th fastest car at the moment. So Verstappen, 6.5 seconds ahead of Lando Norris at the moment. It does sound like that Lando is not using all of his tyres compared to the drivers behind him. But I think this win is definitely in Verstappen's control, unless there's a safety car, as we've already mentioned, an outside influence. I don't think, I think this is be a very good win for Max Verstappen and the Red Bull team. A team that struggled all throughout the weekend, as Sergio now comes into the pit lane and makes his pit stop from 36 lap old hard tyres, as does Lance Stroll as well off of the medium compound tyre. This is 2-stop, 1-stop. It's a one-stop race. It's a one-stop race, unless there's a safety car. Does anyone know where you can watch Max sim race stream? Team Redline on Twitch. Leclerc is still trying to overtake Norris. He's still trying to chase him down. Yeah, he stayed ahead of Piastri, who's now 2 seconds behind Leclerc. Maybe the call has come in to Piastri to just look after his tyres a bit more, because he does need to make this, does have to get to the end of the race. We still have 26 laps remaining in this race. That's quite a long way to go. So Stroll is paying Alonso off. But it's mad how Stroll's still now at P13. He will make up some positions, you think, on the guys ahead with that tyre advantage. You can see there Bottas pitted very early. He's on 30-lap old, pretty much hard compound tyres. And, well, Stroll's on brand new tyres. So, yeah, Stroll will pick up a couple of positions. But let's have a look at Yuki. Yuki, P8 at the moment. He is 2 seconds ahead of Nico Hülkenberg. Not quite been able to pull away from the Haas of Nico Hülkenberg. Ricciardo now has Sergio Perez behind him, the driver that he knocked out in Q2 to make it into Q3. But Perez will make short work, probably, of all three of those drivers up ahead of him because he is on medium compound tyres. So we'll see as Perez will probably be past Ricciardo before they even make it into turn 2. Clean air savers and tyre and pushing late stages. That's probably where we are at this stage of the race now, yeah. I think that Lando, not really. I mean, you can see there, 20.45 from Lando last time around to Max. But this has kind of just been the whole, I'm just keeping an eye on the sector times, and you can just see that, Lando, as an example, is 5th fastest in Sector 2. And 6th fastest in Sector 3 throughout the whole of this race. Piastri, whereas he's 2nd fastest in the first sector. And Verstappen is in the top 4. He's 2 tenths faster on average than Norris in the 2nd sector. And then Verstappen is fastest, 2 tenths faster in the last sector than Lando. And that's been the story of this race. Lando's quicker in the first sector, then is slower in the 2nd and 3rd. And on average is about 2 tenths a lap slower. Completely roles reversed to what we saw in qualifying yesterday and over the practice sessions. I don't know why that is. I'd be intrigued to hear from the McLaren side what has happened to their long race pace. They look pretty good in practice. They look good in qualifying. What has happened to why it's just roles reversed, but they're slower in the middle and last sector, and then they're all of a sudden quicker in the first? Don't know. Maybe they made an overnight change with some front end. I don't know. Is there benefit to sandbagging in practice? Surely they would lose out in practice time. There is and there isn't, really. You can hide your true pace. But, the Red Bulls, their struggles were genuine throughout the whole of Friday and Saturday morning. Credit to Red Bull. They've clearly done something that has just absolutely made Max feel much more comfortable and extract more pace out of this car, as Lando made a bit of a mistake there, I think, and lost half a second in that lap compared to the previous one, whereas Leclerc has been able to make up a bit of time and shorten that gap. 1.7 seconds behind Lando now, so Lando making a bit of a mistake there in the last sector, middle and last sector, losing about half a second compared to that of Leclerc and Verstappen. Piastri in the 21s now, Sainz in the 20.5s, Verstappen 20.6. Obviously, Lando's now catching up to a bit of traffic, which need to be kind to him because he does have Leclerc closing up that gap. 1.5 seconds behind now. Leclerc smells blood. Keep an eye on that interval time of Leclerc that is highlighted. It indicates that he is gaining, as does the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz on Piastri as well. And Norris gets, importantly, ahead of Gasly into the Variante Alta chicane. But Gasly will get out of the way of Leclerc pretty sharpish. And we'll see, will Leclerc might want to stay behind Gasly here down into turn 17 and 18 because that will give him DRS, importantly. And you can see there that Leclerc has sneakily and cleverly not overtaken Gasly so that he can get DRS down the start-finish straight here where Lando doesn't. So Gasly will move out of the way here, and this will just give Leclerc some extra precious couple attempts to close in on Lando Norris. As you can see that gap's now just gone in half a lap from 1.5 seconds to 1.2, 1.1. So Leclerc being very clever there to get the DRS. Verstappen still in the ascendancy and control of this race, but that's really where it's closest at the moment. Sainz also pushing a bit more now to try and catch up to Piastri. Their lap times 21.1 for Norris and a 20.9 for Piastri as they made their way through traffic there. Norris still has Magnussen and Zhou, who are fighting for position as well, so he needs to be careful here, and they also need to be wary in their mirrors. They'll be getting the blue flags thrown very shortly, but it does seem like Leclerc, let's have a look at that middle sector time. I'm intrigued to see 28.1 from Charles Leclerc to Lando. The McLarens are struggling. They are struggling in that middle sector. What has happened to the McLarens in this race, as Leclerc is now in DRS of Lando Norris? And we could see Charles Leclerc, is he going to get more traction here out of the last corner and have a go at Lando down into turn 2? I don't think so. I think Lando will still be getting the benefit of a tow, at least from Magnussen in front. But Leclerc is definitely going to be in the rearview mirrors of Norris now. And in the space of a couple of laps, Leclerc, with the help of a bit of traffic and being very astute by using the DRS of Gasly and not overtaking him down into the Ravazzas, has been able to get within the DRS of Norris. And just look at the gap close as they get through the second and last sector here. Lando's quick through the middle sector, but then look at that interval just close as they get under braking down into Aqua Minerale. Of course, you've got Magnussen and Zhou, who are also fighting as well, but they're on up behind. So Leclerc could potentially take advantage of this battle between Magnussen and Zhou and slide up the inside somewhere as Magnussen slows down to let both of the drivers through as they head down into turn 12, Aqua Minerale. And that's let Lando Norris survive just a little bit longer there and not allow Leclerc to make up as much time as he did on the previous lap, as Zhou will most likely move out of the way pretty sharpish as well. But maybe Lando will want to stay just behind Zhou like Leclerc did a few laps ago on Gasly and get a DRS. Let's see as they head down into turn 17. Let's see if that is indicated as Norris goes through the last corner. And no, Norris didn't get DRS, so Norris will get a tow from Zhou, but he's not getting DRS from the driver ahead. So this is really where this battle is on at the moment, and probably not the fight that Norris expected to be having at the start of this race. Carlos Sainz also closing that gap on Oscar Piastri, who's had to deal with a bit of traffic. 3.5 seconds behind Oscar Piastri now. Over 1.5 seconds quicker last time around, Carlos Sainz on Oscar Piastri. So yeah, the McLaren's not really going that well. It was a better lap last time around from Norris, a 20.8 to a 20.9 from Leclerc. But unfortunately for Norris, Leclerc also gets past Zhou within that same corner as Alonso, down in 19th position on a brand new set of mediums, sets the fastest lap of this race. But wow. Ooh. Get out of the way, Zhou. Get out of the way. So here we go, Leclerc. Let's have a look at that interval. Under braking down into turn 12. Well, let's see if Ferrari... We've seen the roles reversed where Piastri couldn't get past the Ferrari. But let's see if a Ferrari now, if Charles Leclerc can get past a McLaren. How much is he going to be affected by the dirty air? He does have 4-lap younger tyres than Lando Norris. We still have 20 laps remaining of this race, guys, as well. Fastest car on track, Leclerc, is being reported by his engineer. No more we are checking. But yes, out of the last corner there, just lost a bit of rear traction with the dirty air, which has been the theme of today, where drivers, unless they have a substantial tyre advantage, aren't able to stay close enough out of the last sector. So you could see there, he made up about 4 tenths, 3.5 to 4 tenths there, with the DRS and under braking. So we need to see Charles Leclerc at least half a second behind Lando Norris, or 4 tenths behind Lando out of turn 18 for him to go side by side. So yeah, that's the interval time that you're keeping an eye out for, guys. But guys, if you could hit that subscribe button, it'd be much appreciated. If you could hit the like button as well, over 5,000 of you here in this stream with 19 laps remaining. Hit that like button. There's got to be 400 of you or 300 of you haven't hit that like button yet. And if you could get this stream to 23,000 subscribers, or this channel to 23,000 subscribers, now it'd be much appreciated. You see that number at the top of your screen? Let's get that rolling over and up to 23,000. Let's do it, guys. Let's do it. Them two fine just makes it easier for Max. Yeah, but Max has got the advantage anyway. So I don't see Max, although Max got held up there with a 21.3 last time around. There was a second made up there by Norris on Max, as he had to deal with a bit of traffic. I thought that was potentially a mistake, but yeah, Max got held up by traffic and did a 21.1, so there was a second pull back there by Norris on Leclerc, but you can see Norris now no longer saving tyres and having to go for it with a charging Leclerc behind him, still holding off Leclerc as they head out of that last sector. And you can see Norris so much quicker through that first sector, but he's actually pulled out of the DRS of Leclerc, but then Leclerc does seem to make it back up as they head through the first sector and the last one. But yeah, this race is not over by any means. Carlos Sainz getting held up by traffic now. He was 3.5 seconds behind Piastri, but having to navigate his way through Sargent, and now Gasly is just losing a little bit more time, you can see. But this traffic here, with there really being only one place to kind of sufficiently overtake them, and the other drivers not wanting to lose really any time, they're getting stuck for kind of a whole lap until they get round to turn 18, where they can overtake down the start-finish straight. But here we go. As I said before, Charles Leclerc gets back in the DRS under the braking into turn 17 out of that in that last sector. He has just lost a bit though under traction, and the dirty air here is really, really severe. I didn't think the dirty air was going to be as severe as it is, but you can quite evidently see just with the interval and the gap increasing out of the slower corners, the car behind just not able to get the rear traction, get the downforce that is required to get the launch out of those corners and make advantage of that DRS. Of course, turn 18 as well, there's gravel all on the outside, so you need to be careful on how early you get down on throttle because you can run wide. And just an FYI that Max Verstappen does have a 5-second one more off track will get a 5-second time penalty, so he does have to be careful and drive a little bit within himself, because if he gets one more off track he will have 5-second time penalty, and Lando Norris is just under 6 seconds behind Max Verstappen at the moment. Hope Leclerc beat Lando, but feels so sad for Lando. Don't feel sad. Don't feel sad for Lando. Lando's still kind of running a good race. It will still be a P2 for him, but I think we did expect more from the McLaren of Lando. But you can see here, Lando now going into a second gear. As we can see, he's pulled out 1.5 seconds on Leclerc now, and Leclerc is not even in that DRS, and Lando, well, surely is Ocon going to be thinking about the overtake? No, he's going to let Lando Norris by. He's going to let Lando Norris by, which is important for Lando as they head down into turn 2. 6 seconds is a lot. Yes, we'll see. I don't want to... It's not going to make up that amount of time, but I did see Lando close that gap just ever so slightly on Max Verstappen, but Bottas should get out of the way of Lando here as they head into turn 7, or at least up there. But Sainz did get held up quite sufficiently by Gasly and Sargent, which is why he is now 5 seconds behind Oscar Piastri. But he has been quicker than Oscar. Oscar last time around, without kind of any traffic to deal with, a 21.4 for him, whereas Sainz, before he got caught up in traffic, was doing around mid-20s, like high 20s. Leclerc jumped Variante Alta. Oh, did he? Did he? Oh, yeah, just watch it now on the TV coverage. Yeah, mistake from Leclerc. Obviously, the corner where he lost control while chasing Perez a few years ago. Nearly got deja vu there, where Leclerc nearly lost control of the car. The car bottomed out, and yeah, very, very lucky to still have control of the car, to be honest with you. Let's have a look at it back again now. He missed it entirely and had to cut the chicane. So yeah, Charles Leclerc pushing hard there, lost a bit of time to Lando Norris, but 6 seconds between Lando and Verstappen at the moment. He was slightly quicker last time around, Lando Norris, compared to Max Verstappen, a 20.8 compared to a 20.9. So is Max into kind of like tyre saving mode at the moment, not pushing? Or is he starting to see the end of his tyres? Has he pushed a little bit too early? I don't know. We will see. But let's have a little bit look further down the grid, as 7 cars have been lapped here today, or 8 cars have been lapped at this relatively short circuit at Imola. We can see Verstappen is P1, Norris P2, Leclerc P3, Piastri P4, with Sainz trying to chase him down, and he definitely does have the pace to catch Piastri, I think. So potentially could catch up to him, but we know that catching is one thing, overtaking is another here at Imola. Russell in P6, Hamilton P7. Very lonely race for the Mercedes boys today. Perez, who started on a hard compound tyre and went very long, is in P8. He is, well, yeah, no man's land for him. Yuki in P9. How's Yuki getting on? Let's have a Yuki update. Being chased down by Lance Stroll for the last points position. Well, I'll tell you what, we know how Lance Stroll is wheel to wheel. If he goes side by side with Yuki, this could potentially bring out a safety car or a VSC. We know that Lance Stroll isn't the cleanest of drivers when it comes to overtaking, so let's keep an eye out on that battle. Yuki will be fighting hard to hold off Lance Stroll, but there is a severe tyre advantage to Lance Stroll, 24 laps to be exact, and you do think, unfortunately for Yuki, it would be only a matter of time. However, for Yuki, there is a sufficient gap between him and Nico Hülkenberg, which will ensure he will be able to secure that last point on the board, as Hülkenberg is actually being chased down by Daniel Ricciardo, of all people. But last time around, guys, I don't want to give you guys a bit of hope. But Lando was 4 tenths quicker than Max Verstappen last time around, without any traffic for either of them to deal with. There's still 14 laps left. I'm just saying. And it's going to be the same again. Verstappen, 3 tenths slower in the first sector, another tenth slower in the second sector. Lando is catching. Has Lando saved enough tyres here at the end? However, we do know catching one thing, overtaking is another. But let's have a look at that gap. Now under 5 seconds as they head across the start-finish line. A 20.8 tenths quicker than Max Verstappen last time around. That's nearly a whole second quicker from Lando Norris than Max Verstappen. He is catching. And all importantly, he is within 5 seconds of Max Verstappen. With one more track limits violation, will have a 5-second time penalty. And if Max is forced to push, then he will very potentially pick up an off track, and he is catching. Look at that interval time coming down. Max is, I'm really hyping this up right now, but I can't describe the amount of gains that Norris is making right now on the Red Bull of Verstappen at this stage of the race. It is very impressive. But we'll see. We will see. Proof will be in the pudding. But keep an eye on that interval time, as Carlos Sainz 4 seconds behind Piastri at the moment. Leclerc not able to have any response to Norris. And, well, Leclerc also quicker than Verstappen at the moment. He did have to deal with Daniel Ricciardo. But even before that, he was much quicker than Max Verstappen. So we'll see if this will be the case as they head through the start-finish line again, but you can see 3 tenths quicker in the first sector for Lando over Max Verstappen. Will there be some shenanigans with Daniel Ricciardo on the McLaren? We will see. But a 20.3 compared to Verstappen's 20.7. That's 4 tenths that he's just made on Verstappen. So in the space of 2 laps, he's knocked off he's knocked off 1.2 to 1.3 seconds off of Max Verstappen's time. So we'll see if this is Max starting to struggle on the tyres, or if this is Lando just, saving more tyres in the early stages of this second stint. We do only have 12 laps remaining though. He still has to catch him and overtake him. So we'll see. Why does Daniel not have DRS? Daniel doesn't have DRS because he's not within 1 second of Nico Hülkenberg. So Stroll did make quick work of Yuki Tsunoda while I was keeping an eye out on the interval time there between Verstappen and Norris. But Tsunoda is, importantly, he is 6 seconds ahead of Nico Hülkenberg, so he should be good. Yeah, Verstappen reporting, my tyres don't work, mate. Oh! He's genuinely struggling, but has he got a sufficient gap already to hold off Lando Norris? Lando is going to come out of turn 18 behind Daniel Ricciardo, who should let him through. He needs to clear this traffic as quick as possible, but I don't think Daniel Ricciardo is going to play ball that much. So here we go. Norris, as they head down into turn 2, is Daniel Ricciardo going to let him by? And he does indeed. Good boy, Daniel Ricciardo. That shouldn't affect Lando. But if Max is struggling with his tyres, as I reported before, there is only one more track limits violation that Verstappen has to his name. If he exceeds that, he will get a 5-second time penalty, as Russell reporting his tyres have gone and he has to pit. he's having to pit George Russell because his tyres are just not good enough, and we're actually seeing probably higher deck here. And the engineer just went on to Norris and just said about Max, and he went, I see. I'm pushing, mate. I'm pushing. So, yeah, Norris needs to clear Hulkenberg as quick as possible as Perez sets the fastest lap of the race. But we're starting to see higher deck here than expected, so much so that George Russell had to pit off of the hard compound tyre onto the medium, and that's very unlike what we ever see here at Imola. Verstappen probably going to start. Piastri got held up behind Ocon, lost 2 seconds. Yeah, so traffic is essential here as Lando gets ahead of Hulkenberg before the Ravazzas, which is important for him, and he's now 4 seconds behind Verstappen. He was still 4 tenths quicker than Verstappen, having to deal with traffic there, and Max is struggling a lot on those tyres. He is struggling a lot. Norris should smell blood. We have 10 laps remaining, and we are in for a very interesting last race, and with an extra track limits violation probably playing on Max's mind as well, knowing that he can't push and he has to probably drive a little bit within himself with those tyres falling off. Lando can smell blood. Keep an eye out on that lap time. 3 tenths on that first sector alone. He's catching at a rate of knots. Let's see as they head down into turn 12, the second sector where Max has been so much quicker throughout the whole of this race. Lando just with more tyre, more grip, able to accelerate out of the corners, and you can see there as he comes across a 27.8. That's half a second in half a lap alone from Lando Norris on the Red Bull of Max Verstappen, who has been in supreme control here. It is surely only a couple of laps until he catches Max. Yuki Tsunoda, will there be some shenanigans from the sister team of the Red Bull car? Will they deploy? Hang on, just listen to a Max radio. And they're reporting to Max no more track limits as the gap is less than 5 seconds. No response from Max Verstappen, which clearly indicates that he knows. With a 1:19.9 from Lando last time around, that's 1 full second from Lando gained in that last lap. We are in for a dramatic finish here at Imola, but we do know that catching is one thing, overtaking is another. With 6,000 of you here in the stream, if you could hit that like button as we are heading into the last few laps of this race, get this to over 1,000 likes, it'd be much appreciated, and hit that subscribe button. Surely we can get this stream to over 23,000 subscribers. You see that number at the top of your screen there. Get that rolling over like a slot machine to 23,000. We'll be back here next week for the Monaco Grand Prix. 2 race weekends in a row as George Russell on a brand new set of mediums sets the fastest lap of the race, and well, 20 seconds behind his teammate. Of course, no chance of catching him, but couldn't last on those hard compound tyres. Albon has been reported to retire the car down in 20th position, with Sargent also in 19th. Not a great weekend for them, but that gap is now 2.3 seconds. Norris on Verstappen. He's catching him a second per lap. 20.9 last time around for Verstappen, a 20.1 for Norris. 8 tenths this time around. It is around a second, nearly a second per lap that Lando is catching Verstappen, who knows he can't overdrive this car, cannot afford a 5-second time penalty with that extra track limits violation that he could potentially get with 3 already. Lando with extra tyres. You do think that it is just a matter of time with 8 laps remaining that he will catch Verstappen. Keep an eye out on that interval. Last time around, only 2 tenths this time around in Sector 1 by Norris on Verstappen, but it is through Sector 2 and Sector 3 where that extra grip is coming into play, but Norris is just gaining the time. 2 seconds now to Verstappen. Under braking into Aqua Minerale. Is that going to get under 2 seconds? Let's see. Good traction out of turn 12 for Norris. And, well, it's 2.1 seconds at the moment. Is Norris potentially getting into the range of that dirty air of Max Verstappen? But you do think he's still probably got enough tyre left to go at Max Verstappen. All we need to do is force Max into a bit of pressure. And, well, that 5-second time penalty, I know I keep mentioning it, is definitely something that will be hanging over Max's head right now. out of turn 18, and Norris 2 seconds behind Verstappen now, 7 laps remaining. There's an incident involving Zhou and Ocon forcing another driver off the track that will be investigated after the race, as it's all aboard the Bottas train there at the back with Bottas, Ocon, Zhou, Gasly, Alonso, Hamilton coming up to lap them as well. But that's under 1.9 seconds now of Norris and Verstappen. Not the big gains that we've seen the last previous laps with that clean air. And Verstappen is reporting, can he let me by? It's even, I don't know what he's reporting there. But Norris, 1.8 seconds now. Is there enough laps? Is there enough laps for Lando Norris to catch up to Verstappen and overtake him? We will see. He's now within that dirty air, and well, we've seen the issues that dirty air has caused already in this race, even with that lack of tyre advantage that Verstappen has at the moment. I mean, he does have 3 laps younger tyres than Lando Norris, but Verstappen has used more tyre in the early stages of this second stint. But Norris can just see him. 1.6 seconds now. 1.6 seconds, no further investigation for Zhou and Ocon forcing another driver off the track. But it's all about this front battle right now for the lead. Lando Norris going for his second win in a row. Smells blood with his best mate, Max Verstappen, who pipped him to pole position yesterday by 0.09 of a second. Norris closing another 4 attempts that time around on Max Verstappen. He's only, I think it will be pretty much this lap that he will should be able to get within the DRS of Max, and that will be with 5 laps remaining that he will have for opportunity of a first win. Of course, Max can't overdrive the car with a car that's struggling on tyres. This is the first time in a long time that Max Verstappen has been absolutely under pressure out on circuit by another opponent. He hasn't been, of course, under attack by Sergio Perez at all in his time throughout his time on track in the last couple of years. But we are heading into the closing stages of this race, guys. Please hit the subscribe button. 22,479 of you. Come on, hit the like button, hit that thumbs up. Let me know who you think's going to win this race. Is it going to be Lando? Is it Max Verstappen? In the chat, let me know. Who do you think's going to win this race? 1.6 seconds to Lando and Verstappen, not gaining as much this time around. And Norris is reporting I'm pushing as much as he can when he's asked. He can push through turn 9 a bit more and lean on the tyres just a bit more. But he's now within that dirty air of Max Verstappen. As we have said, catching is one thing, overtaking is another. And that was pretty much a level pegging lap for both of those drivers there. Actually, for the first time in a long time, that Verstappen had a very, very slightly faster lap than Lando Norris. But come on, Lando, 5 laps remaining. Let's see, can you chase him down? I mean, look, he's just got under 1.5 seconds there through the first sector. A 25.3 to a 25.4 of Max Verstappen as they head for the chicane there. And Lando just has a little bit of a wiggle, it seems, on traction out of turn 7. And he's lost a couple of attempts there as he's now in the dirty air. But you can see the straight line speed that Norris has over Verstappen as he gained as they went through turn 9. Come on, Lando, you can do this. You can do this. This is kind of hallmarks of all those years ago with the San Marino Grand Prix of Fernando Alonso holding off Michael Schumacher. Maybe not as close as that, but we're in for a cracker of a last few laps. Verstappen, let's see. Come on, Lando. Don't let your tyres fall off. Keep pushing, mate. Keep pushing. 1.8 seconds now. Just falling to the wayside a little bit in the last couple of the laps with that dirty air. Fully in the dirty air of Max Verstappen. And a 26.9, so that was a 20.4 and a 20.3 for Verstappen there. A tenth quicker this time around to Verstappen. Verstappen was over Norris, and that was primarily due to that slight wiggle out of turn 7 of Lando Norris. Apologies. But yes, come on, Lando. You can do this. I know if you're Max fans, of course, but let's be honest, it'd be great to see another Lando Norris win. We want to see a fight. We want to see an attempt at an overtake in the last couple of laps here, at least, even if Max ends up winning this race. The race has been had a little bit left to be desired, to be honest with you. I think I had my hopes very much too high, but we are in for a cracker last 4 laps or 3 laps with Lando trying to close the gap under braking. He was 3 tenths faster in that first sector. Again, come on, Lando, 28.1, slightly slower in that middle sector to Verstappen in the tight, twisty section, but he's 1.6 seconds behind Verstappen. He can't, importantly, get into that DRS. Verstappen just doing enough at the moment to hold off Norris, and this has kind of been the story of the race, is that once the drivers have been able to catch up to the car ahead, the dirty air is just too prevalent, but he gets a good exit out of the corner there, Norris, on Verstappen. For the first time in quite a long time, 2 tenths faster, and is 1.4 seconds to Verstappen. And you can see there in the toe, the top speed advantage that Norris does have, 1.3 seconds behind Verstappen now. 3 laps remaining. It's now or never, Norris. You need to close up this gap. You need to close it up and force Verstappen potentially into a mistake to drive into track limits. There's also that element as well. But 1.2 seconds, you can see through that spire, turn 5 and 6, he's so much quicker than the Red Bull. 2 tenths again gained. Nico Hulkenberg, another track limits violation for him. 2 gained for him thus far. But Lando Norris, 1.2 seconds behind Verstappen. He's so close to that DRS range. Down into Aqua Minerale again, turn 12. Valtteri Bottas loses a position to his teammate, Guan Yu Zhou. Teammates fighting there as Ocon has got ahead of Bottas, as Bottas is starting to fall to the wayside. 51 laps, Bottas, on these hard tyres, by the way. What a mega performance that is by him. But 3 laps, we have 2 laps remaining after this, the penultimate lap, 1.3 seconds. Can Lando get a mega last sector here as Alonso comes out of the pits for a soft tyre for a glory run and try and get a fastest lap of the race? Norris, let's go. I don't care if I'm biased about Max Verstappen, about Lando Norris wanting to win this race. I want to see a different winner. Lando Norris, let's go. P2, he's 1.1 seconds now. He's only, just 1 second behind Max Verstappen. He's nearly within that DRS. He's only really going to have one more opportunity overtaking Max Verstappen. Let's see if he's going to be able to get really close. It's all about prepping this lap now for that potential overtake down into turn 2. But this has been a valiant effort by Lando, where we thought Max had such a supreme lead of over 6 seconds at the second stint. But Lando catching, but not quite catching enough. We will see as they head round Aqua Minerale for the penultimate time here at the Imola circuit. Please, if you do, hit that subscribe button, guys, and hit the like button. Nearly at 1,000 likes, it'd be much appreciated. But 1.3 seconds from Lando, just loses a little bit under traction out of turn 12, as he's just consistently stayed within the dirty air of that Red Bull and not been able to close that tyre advantage that he had. Just seems to have fallen away with the more slide, and the battery is almost empty, is what Max Verstappen is being reported. So here we go, one more time down the start finish straight, and Lando unfortunately is not within the DRS. He hasn't been able to get within that DRS. He is closing, but he might fall 1 lap short here, as he did get track limits at turn 6, Lando Norris. But let's see, is he really able to close the gap here on the last lap and maybe force Max into an issue with those wearing tyres, with that one more track limits violation to hand? Lando had a big swapper through turn 6 last time around, so he was very fortunate to keep hold of the car. But this is it. It's now or never for Lando Norris. He needs to make Verstappen look in his rearview mirrors, force him into a mistake here, as we have only a few more corners remaining of this Imola GP. Lando 0.8 seconds behind as they head into the harsh braking zone, and right-hander of Aqua Minerale for one last time, heading up to Variante Alta. We've seen Max have an issue here before in free practice. Is he going to make another mistake here? Have they got through Variante Alta? Clear, they have. It looks like they have. And Lando Norris, barring a massive late lunge down into the Ravazzas, I don't think he's going to have enough here to have an opportunity at Max Verstappen as they head through the second Ravazza. There's one more corner. There's gravel on the outside. Does Max Verstappen keep it within the track limits? He does. And with DRS activated, Max Verstappen is by 7 tenths of a second from Lando Norris, your Imola GP, your Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix race winner. But round of applause to Lando Norris, who pushed Max Verstappen there at the ends. What a finish that was. What a finish. A real shame, really, that Lando couldn't get within that DRS to force an overtake there at the end, but at least we got a race at the end there, because it was fizzling out to be a bit of a damp squib, wasn't it? But credit where it's due, Max Verstappen, a great race win from him. I didn't expect that, as Leclerc comes across in P3, rounding off your podium positions. Piastri gaining a position on Carlos Sainz after his free-place grid penalty yesterday for impeding Magnussen in qualifying in P4. Sainz in 5th, Hamilton in 6th, Russell 7th, Sergio Perez is in 8th. Lance Stroll in 9th. A good result for Lance Stroll. It's not often you hear me say that. Yuki Tsunoda getting the final point position. Well deserved from him, and the minimum amount that he deserved this weekend. Hulkenberg in 11th. Magnussen in 12th. Ricciardo in 13th. Not really a great performance there. He was helped. I mean, he did stay out on those hard compound tyres very long, Ricciardo. 51 laps. Ocon in 14th. Zhou in 15th. Gasly 16th. Sargent 17th. Bottas 18th, Alonso 19th, and Albon 20th. But wow, what an end to that race we just had, guys. If you can hit that subscribe button, it'd be much appreciated. And one more like for 1,000 likes, it'd be much appreciated. But yeah, let's get this straight. Come on, there's got to be 400 of you haven't hit the subscribe button to get this channel to over 23,000 subs. It'd be much appreciated. But yes, wow. I did not. Lando there, saving his tyres in the second stint, ends up pushing Max Verstappen to the end. But the nature of this circuit and the nature of these regs now, I think has really highlighted, this circuit has really highlighted, guys, that what we used to see in the first year of these regulations is that the dirty air has become more and more prevalent, and we are seeing drivers not able to, once they're able to catch, but they're not able to overtake at certain tracks like this, because they're just losing too much grip. And that's what we saw of Lando Norris. Much quicker than Max Verstappen, but then in the latter stages of this race, but once he caught up and got into that 2-second range and was feeling the dirty air off of Max, he was losing downforce. He was sliding around a bit more, and that tyre advantage that he had started to slowly disappear. But it was a valiant effort. It was a valiant effort by Lando and a good comeback. But wow, I think that is probably Red Bull's best performance. I'm more impressed by that performance of Red Bull than I am of any performance where they've dominated by 20, 30 plus seconds, because they were struggling on the Friday practice, and then they still didn't look overly quick in qualifying. I mean, well, they did look quick in qualifying, but you know what I mean? Like, I think people were most surprised that he was on pole position with a bit of help from Nico Hulkenberg. But then to come out and have their long run pace be like as good as it was, yeah. But it bodes well once again, guys. It bodes well that Max Verstappen pushed to the very end of the race. 0.7 seconds. What a race that was in the end. Overall, the race wasn't overly that great personally. But what's so much hate in the comments for who? Thank you for making this race even more exciting commentary. Thanks, Monique. Yeah, thanks you, Jewel. Very eventful last 10 laps. Yeah, other than that. But yeah, I did see comments about my commentary on wanting Lando to do well. But to be honest with you, against Max. But to be honest with you, why wouldn't you want Lando to do well and push Max Verstappen to the end? This is what we want. We want close racing. I said before, if Max wins races, I don't care. As long as he's winning them with a fight and a battle and an effort, not winning it by 20 plus 30 seconds. And that's what we saw today. Okay, we was a bit devoid of any will-to-will action, but that was exciting at the end, seeing Lando push him, and it bodes well for the remainder of the season as well. So, yeah. Who had the fastest lap? I don't know, actually. I think Alonso may have. He went onto soft tyres at the end. But yeah. But Leclerc on P3. The Ferraris were okay. I mean, their upgrades did work, but at the end of the day, yeah, the fact of it, Leclerc finished 8 seconds behind Norris there. He was pushing him, wasn't he, when Norris was saving his tyres, and then Norris went, okay, I'm going to crack on. and chase down Max Verstappen for the win. But yeah, I didn't think that was possible with the first stage of the race. They just really struggled on the medium compound tyre. Very worlds apart, the McLarens compared to Max Verstappen on the medium. And then, yeah, the hard tyre they were much, much better on. So, yeah, thanks Eric. Yeah, thanks everyone who's tuned in to this stream and has liked the stream. Please hit the subscribe button. Over 1,000 likes again. Thank you, guys. We hit a peak of, I think, over 7,000 viewers. So, yeah, thank you very much, guys. These streams just keep getting bigger and better. We want Sainz to ribble. Lando was so close, but does not have the aggression that Max does. No, that's nothing to do with the aggression, Misha. It's just the fact of these cars can't run in dirty air. The dirty air is a lot more prevalent than it has been with these new regs. Well, the funny thing is that these ground effect era regs were brought in to bring in closer racing and reduce dirty air. It worked in the first season, but then what happened is that the cars were being run really low, which reduced dirty air. But then what happened is that increased porpoising. So that was an issue. And the only real way to reduce porpoising is to raise the ride height, which is why a minimum ride height has been introduced. But that introduction of a minimum ride height has created more dirty air. And as we saw here today, Piastri couldn't get past Carlos Sainz. We saw Leclerc not be able to overtake Lando Norris. He caught him, but then once he got into the dirty air range, they're just losing too much downforce. And that was with Norris as well. Norris was quicker than Verstappen in the latter stages of that race. But as soon as he got into the dirty air, he just couldn't close up at the rate and knots that he did in clean air. And yeah, he needed probably another 2 laps, I think, to probably have a go at him sufficiently. So, but look, how long has it been since we've seen Max Verstappen win a race by 0.7 seconds? Less than a second. So I'm still taking positives from it. Max, a great drive. Yeah, it was a great drive. It was a great drive for him. There's no penalty for not respecting blue flags. What does dirty air mean? So when a car goes through, obviously, the air in front of them, that air is distorted and thrown out of the car behind them. So the car following is going rather into clean air. The air is all distorted. So the parts of the car, like the aero part of the car, is not working at peak performance. So it means that the car behind is sliding around more because the air is distorted and bouncing off of the car in a different way, in a less smooth way than it would be if it was just clean air in front of them. So once they catch up to that range, which is normally around 1.5 to 2 seconds, you start to see the rate at knots, or the gap in which they're catching, reduce, because the cars can't get down on throttle as out of turn 18 as quick as they'd like, because the car won't turn and they have to wait longer to get on throttle rather than they would do if they was the lead car. And that's why we saw it difficult for Lando to close down that gap once he got to about 2 seconds to Max, because he was in that dirty air range. And yeah, it's increased more as these regs have gone on because of the introduction of the minimum ride height. So yeah, which is a shame. But Lando just ran out of laps. So I think he would have had Max if he had probably 2 or 3 more laps. But yeah, he didn't. So, but Max thoroughly deserved the win. Yeah, I didn't expect to see Red Bull have as good a long pace as they had on the medium compound tyre. I mean, it was kind of roles reversed, to be honest with you. The Red Bull was very good on the medium, and then when they went onto the hard, they were still good, but that advantage that they had over... That advantage Max had over McLaren disappeared. It was kind of like level playing. It was setting like similar lap times. And that was even when Norris was managing. And then as soon as Norris started to push, he was like so much quicker than Max, and Max just couldn't cope. So yeah, kind of roles reversed today. The Red Bull was very good in the first stage of the race on the medium. You would say overall though, the Red Bull was slightly better car because their pace on the medium tyre in the first stint is what won them this race. If they was just a slightly bit slower, yeah. You could also argue You could also argue that outlap by Perez that held up Norris for a whole lap was essential. That's when you're looking at the margin of that win by Max here at the end. That lap of Perez holding Norris up on his outlap for his whole outlap is essentially the difference today between Norris winning this race and not winning this race. So, but yeah, you got to be. It's a great performance by Max and by Red Bull. And look, as a neutral, I am a neutral. I support McLaren. I support Mercedes, the Brits. So that's why I want to see Norris do well. But even if you're a neutral, that's what we want to see as F1 fans. We want to see, as F1 fans, we want to see close fights for the win. That's what we got today. That's what we got. There was a real buzz at the end there, but Norris was chasing Verstappen down. It wasn't Verstappen winning by 7 seconds, 10 seconds, which we thought was going to be the case. It's great, and it bodes well for the rest of the season. Max's battery didn't go wrong. He used up his battery. So Max used up all of his battery to defend from Lando. So his battery didn't go wrong. It was just different battery strategies. So race is finished. The race is finished. Leclerc 2024. Don't really see a difference in these cars being better compared to pre-reg chain. Not now, Tony. No, they're probably worse now. The first year was good because we got closer racing. The ride height was low. There was less dirty air, and we saw a lot more wheel-to-wheel racing. Do you remember that moment where we saw like 5 cars going side by side up into turn 3 at the Red Bull Ring? But because that caused issues with porpoising, they've had to introduce a minimum ride height, raise the ride height, and that produces more dirty air. And we're now at a point where these cars are the biggest and heaviest they've ever been. They're the most sluggish they've ever been. Even the drivers admit that. And yeah, we're now at a point where we kind of know better in regards to like the wheel-to-wheel racing and the dirty air that was created in the pre-reg era. So yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. But do I recommend subscribing to the F1 app? I do actually. Yeah. There's a lot of good data on there. It's like £2.50 per race or something. I think you could subscribe for like 25 English pounds for the year. I think that's worth it. I think it might be more than that. I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely worth it. You get so much data. And it's, yeah, I watch the races through this now, more so than I do on the TV coverage. I feel like when I watch the TV coverage now, or I watch the highlights back, I'm like, there's so much info that they fail to provide you, which I'm now used to with doing these watch-alongs with you guys and watching this data. I think you guys might feel the same as well if you go and watch just a TV coverage race. After watching this, that I'm hoping, obviously not just naming my commentary, but with like all the data at hand, you get a full picture of the race here, which you don't get on TV coverage. So, sure, it's a loss of agent. Harold is £2, 2 English pounds. Adamo, there are people there who are talking about Max. Then when I talk to you, you complain to me. What? What are you going on about, buddy? What you want is Max Verstappen. How much subscription for everyone? I don't know off the top of my head. I can't remember. You know what, mate? Just go away. I'm not here for here to fart ass around and have arguments with people. So yeah, he can go. He can go. I'm here about being respectful. Just because I wanted particularly one driver to catch up to another. You know what? Like, doesn't mean I don't like Max. Great win from Max. So yeah. Anywho, let's move on. What are you really watching on TV? I thought it was on F1 TV. Well, I have the Sky coverage here as support. It's on a delay, so I use it kind of as a replay tool, and a bit of an additional info as well through my ear, so that I can hear stuff. So, peace in chat. Yeah, peace in chat. The race between Lando and Max was so close. Yeah, it was in the end. Shame we didn't have probably a few more laps, because I think we would have at least seen them go wheel to wheel. But yeah, look, credit to Lando in the end there. I mean, they'll be scratching their heads, the McLarens, of why their pace disappeared on the first stint on the medium compound tyre. I was a bit surprised by that as well. But yeah, I mean, look, they came back at them in the second stint on the hard compound tyre. I think McLaren would be sitting here thinking, what could have been? What could have been? And you've also got the potential as well, is that if they could have caught Max even more and got into the DRS range of Max in the last, like with at least like 3 laps remaining, he had one more track limit violation and then he would have got a 5-second time penalty. But Lando has never had the opportunity to get up close behind him to like at least force Max into a defensive position. So yeah, it was only on the last lap he got into the DRS. But look, it was a great challenge from Norris in the end. I'm all here for McLaren to put more pressure on Red Bull. And I think this is, guys, let's be honest, we were all I still had reservations about the McLaren performance in compared to Red Bull. I thought, is it just an outlier circuit? Is it just like a bogey circuit, Miami? Temporary track. The tyres they perform a bit differently there than anywhere else. Is that why Max the Red Bulls weren't quite up to the races there? But this race here, I think there's no doubt that McLaren have caught Red Bull. I think there's no doubt. We head to Monaco next, which still kind of isn't really a relative track. I'd like to see a more GP circuit. Where do we head to? We've got Canada next, and then so we've got Monaco, then we've got Canada, then we've got Spain. I'd like to see Spain to see how that's a proper GP circuit, and then we've got Austria, we've got Red Bull Ring straight after. Those 2 weeks are really, I mean, Canada maybe, but I mean, that's a street circuit. Monaco's a street circuit. Spain and Austria is really, I think, will be a true test of where they are in performance. I do think this is a good barometer, though, that McLaren have definitely caught up to Red Bull. Red Bull was still, obviously, the fastest car. Maybe I was a bit too positive, but I think they would have easily overtaken Verstappen today. But yeah, it was still a good race. Did I see the sim race Green Hill? I've been tuning into it a bit now and then, so yeah. But you know what? Fair play for Max as well. He's put under pressure there at the end. Very easy while being put under pressure and seeing that gap come down to Lando Norris, which he knows he would have seen Lando catching. For him to not exceed a track limit is very mature and a very good drive by Max in the latter stages of that race. Not gonna lie, Monaco is, my opinion, the best street circuit. It is technically Circuit Villeneuve is, but which I do like. But Monaco's like the pure street circuit, isn't it? But these cars are too big to overtake there, so it's all about qualifying. So Max be like, GG Lando, yeah. McLaren should get Adrian Newey. Well, there's rumours that he's going there. So either that or Ferrari. Why did Albon retire? Well, Albon, I don't know why they said Albon to retire, but he was so many laps down. He had to, his team, he pitted early for an undercut, really early undercut, and he ended up finishing, he ended up in the pit stop, his tyre not being put on properly. And then he got a 10-second drive-through penalty, stop-go penalty, and yeah, it was just a shocker of a day for them. Bottas, by the way, 54 laps on a set of hard compound tyres Bottas went on. Unbelievable. Finishing P18, a bit shafted by his team there to go that long. But wow, that is one heck of a performance to take 54 laps on the hard tyres. Mercedes disappointing, yeah, what else? That's the best that they could hope for. They were the fourth fastest car here, and they finished ahead of Perez in P8, who obviously was out of position in qualifying, starting in P11. And then, yeah, Hamilton, I think Russell's tyres really fell off, and he had to come in and pit. So, but let's do driver of the day, shall we? Let's do a poll driver of the day. I've got a feeling who's going to get the vote of driver of the day. But driver of the day. Just doing it now. Hang on. Norris. Who else is on there? Who else did a good performance? I can't do it. I can't say Lance Stroll was driver of the day. He's gained the most positions out of everyone there. I think it's quite a tough one today, you know. I think it's really only between Lando and Verstappen. It's a really tough one. I think they both equally deserve it, you know. I don't think I could split them. Because it was like a tale of two races. Like it was, a race of two halves. The first half definitely belonged to Max, and then the second half belonged to Lando. But Max did enough in the first half to hold off Lando. So, how Alonso finished 19th? Yeah, just a race to forget for Alonso. Started from the pit lane, couldn't overtake anyone. Pitted early, still couldn't overtake anyone. Came in for some fresh tyres. Just hoping for more from Ferrari upgrades. Yeah, I mean, I think there's still a lot to learn from Ferrari about those upgrades. We'll see. They've definitely headed in the right direction. I think that's a positive for them. But yeah, I mean, maybe not as much of a performance upgrade as what McLaren have got. But they're there or thereabouts. So, I mean, Charles was chasing Norris until he made the mistake, and then that probably ruined his tyres. So, by going straight off at the chicane. So, kudos to Max in the late game for keeping that track limit. Yeah, I mean that's why. That's why you could arguably. I mean that's why the driver of the day. I mean, Max was surprisingly good in the first half of the race. Exceeded track limits a few times. Then he had to go like 3/4 that race without exceeding a track limit. And then when he was being put under pressure by Lando closing him down to not exceed that track limit. I mean, speaking from experience in sim racing, I know how tough that is, let alone what it must be like in real life F1. So fair play to him. Fair play for him to holding on to that. In the end of the race came at just the right time for him. I think, yeah, another 2 laps probably. Another lap at least. Another 2 laps. I think definitely Norris would have had an opportunity at Max. Of course, he had DRS at the end there, but yeah. It's and then Lando, the way that he just managed the second stint, the early stage, he held off Charles Leclerc, was calm, collected, and then he just like turned on the afterburners, and the rate of knots at which he caught Verstappen and was just catching him down. Yeah, just ran out of laps at the end. So, Alonso got fastest lap. What would I rate this race out of 10? If I'm being honest with you, I think I would give it a 6 out of 10. I don't think it was a good race. It was made exciting at the end. I might even give it a 5, you know. I might even give it a 5. Because while obviously the drama at the end with Norris catching Verstappen, and I know we don't always need overtakes to make a race interesting, but for me, I would say for 75, 80, I would say probably for 90% of that race, it was quite dull. I think it was quite dull. And it was only at the end when Norris was catching Verstappen that it got exciting. And that was in the last 15 laps. So I think Imola's a great track to hot lap around for racing. With the way these cars are at the moment, I mean, this just clearly showed that the dirty air is an issue and has reared its ugly head again. Because we didn't see really any overtakes down into turn 2 unless a driver was like 3 tenths behind them out of turn 18. And that was only because they had a massive tyre delta. They had like 25 lap younger tyres. Like it was, if you was on similar lap tyres, like you just couldn't get that rear traction and close the gap down into turn 2. Albon had they didn't put his tyre on properly in the pit stop, Timo, and he had to trudge round to make it back to the pit lane. to get that tyre put back on. Then he got a 10-second penalty for a car being released in an unsafe fashion. Yeah, and it was just a shocker for him. So, boring race. Yeah, I mean, I see why you give it 3 out of 10. I mean, for me, it would be lower than that if we didn't have the last battle, like the chase at the end, the buzz that we got from Norris chasing down Verstappen. If that didn't happen, I could quite easily give this a 4 out of 10, 3 out of 10. Yeah. And that's because, as well, there was no like, we don't need overtaking to make a race interesting. We don't. I want guys fighting, like defending and stuff like that. And today, I didn't even see like anyone like make relative overtakes like when they was on the same amount of tyre life. Very few people made overtakes if they was on the same tyre life. It was a massive tyre delta. It was guys who hadn't pitted yet to guys who had pitted. And then also, there was no element of strategy here today. I mean, look at this. Look, Hulkenberg, 49 laps on hard. Tsunoda, 50 laps on hard. Bottas, 54 laps. Norris on 42 lap hards, 39 lap, 38, 41. Like, it was just, there was no element of strategy to keep us interested like it was, say, at Suzuka, where it was like different and people going long, people going short, different strategies. And yeah, I love Imola as a circuit, but it wasn't a great race. So, will Oscar get his first win after seeing the performance? I think he will do. Yeah, I think so. That McLaren, I mean, I think if Piastri didn't get that free place grid penalty today, from the impeding the Magnussen in qualifying, I think he definitely would have been up there with Norris. Yeah, I think so. We saw how difficult it was to overtake. He got stuck behind Sainz and just was always in the DRS and just couldn't get the traction out of turn 18. Just couldn't get it. And you lose that all-important couple attempts that you need to try and pull up alongside them for an overtake in turn 2. And yeah, he just struggled with the overtake. Anyway, Alonso's the best, yeah. Max is go, how boring, let's talk about you. Yeah, good performance from Yuki. Look, I think people will be a bit surprised that he got overtaken by Stroll, but that was good strategy from Aston Martin. They extended Stroll's stint. You can see there, 38 lap mediums, and with the younger tyres, he easily overtook Tsunoda. Tsunoda went 50 laps on the hards. Ricciardo also went 51 laps. VCarb dropped the ball on strategy today, definitely. I think they potentially could have got Ricciardo. I mean, he did fall behind. I mean, Hulkenberg did fall behind Tsunoda quite a bit, but I think they pitted them way too early. Yeah, they should have stayed out there longer, trusted their drivers, trusted the pace of their drivers, and I think because the undercut on Hulkenberg didn't work for Ricciardo, it did work for Tsunoda. So I guess they got track position by getting ahead of Hulkenberg, but I think they could have trusted their driver's pace a bit more and stayed out there for a bit longer. But yeah, it's a shame for Ricciardo. He didn't really have a bad drive this race. It's just the fact of that he's been out there for 51 laps on hard tyres. Magnussen's got 25 laps. He's got 26 lap younger tyres. And yeah, he just couldn't really overtake Hulkenberg, but we saw everyone struggle to overtake here, so. This is on multi-viewer, but you need an F1 TV subscription. Boring until the end. I hope this doesn't continue in the next races. We want proper racing. Yeah, it's just this circuit, Sinead. It's just this circuit. But it bodes well that Lando was able to catch Verstappen at a rate of knots that he did. Performance has definitely been gained by the Red Bull, by the McLaren team, that's for sure. So, heading in the right direction, definitely. We've got it's just a shame that we've got Monaco next. I mean, we're about to have probably 2 races that are very similar in nature. All about the qualifying. Not going to see any overtaking out on track. It's all going to be about strategy. Monaco's always a one-stop as well. So it's going to be the same again next week, unfortunately. I really wish that we had a different race this week, because Monaco is always like end of May. I really wish we had a different circuit this week. And then we head to Circuit Villeneuve afterwards. And then we head to the more traditional GP circuits where we've got Spain, Barcelona, Austria, Red Bull Ring, Silverstone. I mean, we go on a spell where we go through like kind of boring tracks, I think, like Imola, Monaco. Canada's got the potential of being either a really good race or a boring race. I feel like there's no ever in between in Canada. And then, yeah, we've got Barcelona, Red Bull Ring, Silverstone, Hungaroring, Spa. And yeah, 5 weeks of racing before the summer break. So yeah, after Canada, really, we have some real good races coming up, some real good tracks. Monaco's quality will be great, yeah, but then the race, maybe not so much. Charles going to win the Monaco. Well, I think, look, we've seen how close qualifying was in Imola. How close is it going to be in qualifying at Monaco? Yeah, it could be. It's just so much closer now. It's so exciting. I really was excited for this race today. The most excited I think I've been all year or for a long time. And I just did not see the dirty air being such a big issue as it was. I really thought, oh yeah, well the McLarens have got the pace advantage with DRS and top speed. But they just fell to the wayside with the dirty air that the Red Bull was throwing off. And the Ferraris as well. So, but yeah, no post-race penalties, guys, thankfully. No post-race penalties. It was a bit of a quiet race in that regard as well, which also didn't really throw up any intrigue. I think that's also why it was a little bit boring. But then that's also because it was difficult to overtake on, so no one was really forcing the issue. So yeah, it's a shame, really. But look, here's our final grid. Let's have a look at it. Verstappen is your winner once again. Super Max, as many of you keep saying in the chat. And it was definitely a super performance from him today. Norris in P2, 7/10 of a second behind Max Verstappen. When was the last time we had a finish that close in F1? So, Norris, P2. Leclerc rounding off the podium in P3. Not too bad from him, considering the top three finished where they started. Piastri in P4, gaining a position on Carlos Sainz, with him finishing in 5th. Hamilton in Sainz. Went a bit longer on the medium compound tyre, and I'm surprised really that they didn't keep. I think Ferrari kind of bottled that with Sainz. They should have kept Sainz out for longer if they were going to extend him, and unfortunately didn't have that much of a tyre advantage over Piastri to catch him at the end. Hamilton 6th with overtaking his teammate in the pits. George Russell made an extra pit stop because his hard compound tyre just, I don't know, was falling off and he was complaining. So, yeah, best the Mercedes could hope for. Perez recovering to P8. Not a great weekend from him. Stroll, good weekend from him in the end, finishing P9, getting 2 points for his team there. And then Tsunoda in 10th, taking hard tyres 50 laps. So, good point finish for him. He might still be a little bit disappointed by the strategy, as will Daniel Ricciardo, who finished in 13th. They were split by the two Haases there. 14th for Ocon, Zhou 15th, Gasly 16th. Not good weekend for the Alpines. They didn't look too bad yesterday in qualifying, but the race was a different scenario. Sargent in 17th, Bottas 18th, taking 54 laps, those hard tyres. Alonso 19th, and Albon 20th, the only car to retire. So yeah, there we go. That is your final grid for the EMILIA-ROMAGNA Grand Prix. It would be hard. It would already be hard for Lando to overtake due to overtakes being hard on this track. Yeah, it would have been, Sean, but I think he did have an advantage over Max at the end there. It's just that as he got into the dirty air, that advantage that he had was much smaller. He needed 2 more laps, I think. I don't think he would have got him. Let's say this race went to 65 laps. I don't think he would have made the overtake on lap 64. I think he would have been close enough out of the last lap with lap 65. But hey ho, he didn't. So I still think that out lap, where he got caught by Perez, he got caught behind Perez. On the grand scheme of things, you look at it, that's made the difference because his out lap was stunted by Perez. He had to wait the whole lap before he could overtake him down into turn 2, and with the finer margin that it was at the end, yeah, you could look at that and say, well, that's where he lost. That's where he not lost the race, but he could have won the race if he didn't get held up there. But primarily, McLaren didn't win this race because they were very poor in the first stint on the medium tyre, and the Red Bull was so good. That flipped on its head come the second half on the hard compound tyre, where the McLaren was better than the Red Bull on the hard tyre. But the Red Bull was better on the medium tyre than the McLaren was on the hard tyre. That difference, and that's really where it mattered. So, we've seen the greatest ever, and you call this boring. Please go watch something else. Dominance is boring, though, Tom. Yeah, dominance is boring in any sport. So you can appreciate the dominance and you can respect the dominance, but it is boring. So yeah, like, I don't care if Max wins races. I just want him to be fought hard for those races, like he was at the end there. That's what we want. I don't want to see any driver in any team win a race by 20 odd seconds, 30 odd seconds. It's like football as well. I don't want to see any team win a football league by Christmas, you know, where you see certain leagues that are won 10, 15 games before the end of the season. You want it to go down to the end of the last season like it is today, even though Man City are, of course, in pole position for that. But, like, dominance is boring. We want to see challenge. That's sports. We want to see competition. And, look, if a team and a driver shows that skill and that talent that they have and that extra level that they've got over everyone else to still win when competition is tight, fair bloody play to them. And that's what we want in F1. So, if Lando didn't do a mistake on turn 7 that one time, I feel the overtake would be certain. Yeah, maybe. I still don't think he would have had enough, because he needed to be, realistically, I think 4 temps coming out the last corner. And I don't know if he would have... It only cost him 2 temps that turn 7. So I still think he would have been short. He might have forced Max into maybe going defensive though. But yeah, I think he just needed an extra lap or so. Chelsea boom just started. West Ham City as well, isn't it? Do you think Lando will win more this season? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I do think so. Remember you, James? James is a good man. James is a good man. But yeah, no. Big thank you to everyone who's tuned in, and thank you for everyone subscribing. Fell just a bit short of 23,000 subs, but I still think that's around 500 subs that we had this stream. So big thank you to everyone who tuned in for this race. Watchalong, not the most exciting, but hey ho, not every single race is exciting. It was exciting at the end though. At least we got that. So McLaren is getting closer to Red Bulls at the moment. Next season might put an end to the dominance. Yeah. I think, look, today I think people were shocked that some people won't be because of the dominance that Red Bull and Verstappen have had. But I genuinely was shocked that Verstappen was so strong on that medium compound tyre at the start. The race pace that we'd seen from the McLarens and the Ferraris in the practice sessions looked really good. Red Bulls looks okay, but not like as dominant as it was in that first stint. And then in qualifying, he was slow in the last sector. He was slow in the middle sector compared to the McLarens, where he was quickest in the first sector. And then that flipped on its head come race day, where he was slowest in the first sector, but then quickest in the middle and last sector. And the McLarens couldn't cope. It was just bizarre to see. And I'd really like to see why and hear why McLaren struggled on that medium compound tyre at the start. Actually, they're interviewing the team principal right now. So just listen to see what Andrea Stella has to say about their first stint. There you go. He's first asking about the tyres, which is great. Straight to the point, Ted Kravitz. Tyres were interesting, not as easy as anticipated. Lost too much time in the first stint. Yeah. Too much rear deg. They initially saved the tyres in the hard stint. Yep. Yeah. So that's what we said. It doesn't really gone into detail why they struggled on the medium tyre, but yeah, they lost too much time in the first stint. They were more looking in their rearview mirrors and the McLarens than they were looking ahead. Then they got onto the hard tyre, saved a bit of tyre at the start where Leclerc caught up to them, and then that really paid dividends at the end of the race where they caught up to Verstappen. But yeah, it's I still don't know. Yeah, I imagine they've got to understand why they were so poor on that medium tyre at the start. It was a bit of a strange, but that's really where they lost, where they didn't win this race, because Max pulled out like a 7-second lead by the time of the pit stops, and then I still think that outlap's important. That outlap where Perez held up Lando on a brand new set of tyres for a whole lap ended up being very important. Verstappen had 3 track limits of 3 warnings for track limits. Yeah, he did. Yeah, but he needed 1 more track limits violation, and he would have had a 5-second time penalty, and he didn't. He did very well. What happened for Alonso in qualifying? So in FP3, he binned it, kind of tore the rear of the end of the car off, did damage, and I think that kind of affected his car when it came to qualifying. Apparently, he didn't have enough fuel in the car at the end, which is why he couldn't do a last lap. So yeah, Alonso's weekend was ruined by that crash in FP3. But the Aston Martin was never quite really that pacey today anyway, or this weekend. But we do know in Alonso's hands he can do magic. He might have been fighting the Mercedes, but yeah, Alonso's weekend was ruined by that FP3 crash. So. Just come back to SF23. I can't. I've lost my C license. Tears for me. But yeah, no. I think this race is very good, guys. I think this. Sorry, the race itself wasn't very good, but I think the race. I think the performance of the McLarens in the end on the hard tyre. It's something that look at the end of this race rather than look at the start of this race. I think it's definitely something to look at, that they have closed the gap to Red Bull, definitely. And I'm excited for Monaco still. More excited for the qualifying than I am for the race. But yeah, we've got a fight. Max has got a fight on his hands now, and that's all we can ask for. So, and it's Lando of all people. Potentially could have been Piastri if he didn't get that free place grid penalty, which is a real shame for him. But I would not be surprised at all to see Piastri on pole position in Monaco. Just saying. So yeah. But no, thank you everyone for tuning in. Let me know if you'd be interested in... I'm still going to do it regardless, but are you interested in the race review that I did last week? I did obviously the qualifying reaction review as well. I'm going to do a race review reaction. Kind of analyse things and have a look at what happened afterwards. And yeah. Something that you guys can listen to on throughout the week and after this evening and stuff. So I think now that we'll get another win in the next few races, or just a podium. I think he can do, yeah. I mean, look how close qualifying was in the last cup, like yesterday. It was so close, less than the 10th separating the top 3. So if that continues. He could be on pole position in Monaco next week. Piastri could be. Verstappen could be. Leclerc, we know he goes well at Monaco. His home track. So, yeah. F1 is in a much better position than it was even a couple of races ago. It's just a shame that this track didn't really showcase that, unfortunately. So, yeah. But anyway... Everyone, thank you for tuning in once again. Please, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. Hit that like button one last time. We got over 1,000 likes in the stream, so thank you very much. And yeah, we head only one more week, only a few more days again until we head to Monaco Grand Prix, the next race. So I'll be doing that for sure. And yeah, I'll also be doing some sim racing in the meantime. So yeah, have a lovely rest of your weekend, guys. Lovely rest of your Sunday. And yeah, I'm going to do a race review as well afterwards. Do I think Merc will become competitive next year? Short answer, no. Wait until 2026, unfortunately. But yeah, Norris 0.7 seconds behind Verstappen there. what a finish that was to what was otherwise a pretty dull race. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the stream as always, and we'll see you in a few days' time for the Monaco Grand Prix, where qualifying is the most important it is at any other circuit. So can Lando Norris get on pole? Can the McLarens lock out the front row? Or will we see another good performance from Verstappen? Or will Leclerc finally win at his home circuit? Let's see. But yeah, have a lovely rest of your Sunday, guys, and I'll catch you soon. Bye.